guys, we're on. All right, forgive me for being late. I was looking up some stuff to get ready for today's live stream. As I was saying, today my plan is to talk about relevance and Freemasonry, particularly types of relevance, why we as Freemasons should be exploring relevance, or not even exploring relevance, chasing relevance. I think one of the mistakes that we as Freemasons made is we put too much of an effort, or too much relevance, if you will, on the idea of looking for or chasing members, and not enough relevance on actually how relevant we are in the communities in which we are located. The whole point is current comes promotions. One of the things I always say, right, is our purpose is to explore the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. The reason being, if we can demonstrate that relevance, that is what is going to bring in membership and growth to Freemasonry. More so than looking for members just for the sake of getting members. Yes, well, I mean, I got four wheels, but I was looking up a few things because there's been some statements today from different Masonic Grand Lodges regarding 9/11. Today is the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And some Masonic Grand Lodges have made some statements, as have many groups and people, representatives, but I was going to read some of those. And also, I was looking up some of the discussions around Charlie Kirk, and some people just posted some stuff I want to take a look at, primarily because not so much, I don't want to talk about Charlie Kirk one way or the other, but rather this discussion around political violence, the feeling that it's increasing in society, especially in the United States, and the idea that civic engagement, civic organizations such as Freemasonry and the Moose and the Elks, to a certain extent religious institutions as well, can act as a stopgap or act as a way to mitigate some of those political violent desires. So I was looking at some of that stuff, some things that just got posted. But for now, I'm here. Mr. Keeps, I was later than usual, but how's it going? I hope you're doing well. And thank you for joining. As always, the first hour, we're just going to be hanging out, chatting, seeing who joins. And then we're going to start talking about relevance. And then maybe I'll start talking about some of those other items I previously just mentioned. Yadav, hello. I think you've been on here before. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. Yes, I am from Canada. How is it going for you? We're here to chat about Freemasonry. The first, actually, maybe I'll make this as a poll question because I'm curious what people think. I'm going to make this not about Freemasonry per se. I'm going to make this poll question about civic engagement in general. I'm going to start that poll. We're going to see how it goes, and we're going to see who joins. Well, we got one yes, so all right, I'll take it. But this will be, like I said, the first hour. The first hour is me just hanging out, waiting to see who joins and what people want to chat about. And the second hour is more the specific topics, such as today, relevance within our communities. No minute of silence. I'm not going to do that. Partially because it seems to me very strange to do a minute of silence on a live stream. And also because I did not know the guy. So I don't think I've ever done a minute of silence for any tragedies or shootings, or pick your term that you want to use. But to his family, I wish, I guess I wish whatever peace and comfort one can wish in a challenging time like this. Or if you're saying minute of silence for 9/11, I won't do a minute of silence for 9/11 either, other than I will say to everybody who has, like I said, to all the Masonic groups that have posted statements on it, I do want to read some of them if I can find them again. But I do know several Masonic bodies did post statements. I guess not. I was going to say celebrating, which is the wrong term. Commemorating, remembering 9/11, and the impact it had on the country, all those who lost their lives, as well as the first responders who acted so bravely to try to save basically anyone that they could. But that is for an hour in. Like I said, for the first hour, we're just going to hang out. We're going to see who joins. We're going to chat. And we're going to go from there. I mean, I'm assuming next year, because I just realized next year is the 25th anniversary of 9/11. I'm assuming there's going to be some pretty significant events at that point, commemorations, ceremonies. So we'll see. I'm sure several Masonic lodges will be doing something special on the 25th anniversary also. But for now, we're going to chat about Freemasonry. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what you always want to talk about. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, please let me know. By the way, I did also want to mention something that happened to me on Twitter. You've been on here before. I remember you. Let's see. So on Twitter, let's see if I can go through the whole thread. A Twitter user by the name of Ian Miles Chong, he is at Still Gray. He posted a picture of what looks to be a building on fire or several fires. And he wrote, Nepal is having a total revolution as young people overthrow the communist government following efforts by that government to impose widespread censorship and a total ban on social media. This was on September 9th, so 2 days ago. I have actually read some of the stuff but happening in Nepal, though I know very little about it. But I have read some of it. Anyways, Persecuted Patriot, who goes by @PersecutedPDX on September 9th, wrote, in America, we let communists steal our elections, destroy our country. We are not the same. And then Keith Davis on September 9th, who goes by @KeithDavisKL, in all caps, wrote, Marxism is Freemasonry. I then responded on September 10th on my X account, Marxism is not Freemasonry. Freemasonry is not a political philosophy. We have left and right-leaning Freemasons. Keith Davis then responded to that. First, he responded, you're, and in all in caps, he responded, you're a fucking liar. And he said that 17 hours ago, which seemed quite extreme. Then he wrote another response. He said, but you are correct that you have no party or national alliance. You, meaning Freemasons, created every denominational church. Judaism is not Hebrew Torah, following worship of Jehovah. You created Catholicism. at the council at Nicaea, then Islam. They're the same Luciferian, Ashkenazi, Freemason, which is a lot of words there, a lot of which I don't understand. But then he wrote, after that, and to his credit, I'll say this, he then wrote, also, I'll ask your forgiveness in calling you a liar. If you'd be big enough to unpack any part of Freemasonry, no competition or sparring, straight up fact for fact, truth for truth. My claim is, while I am not, nor will ever be, a Freemason, I know absolutely everything. I responded to that 13 hours ago. Forgiveness granted. You are always welcome to join my live stream into the chat. You're doing better than me. Well, I've been a Mason since 2007. I do not claim to know everything, but I think I know a lot. I did want to, so there's a lot to unpack there, but I did want to highlight one thing that always concerns me when I'm talking to somebody who is either an anti-Mason or even somebody who is a pro-Freemason. When they say, I know absolutely everything, or anybody who claims to know everything when it comes to the subject of Freemasonry, right? I've been a Freemason for almost 20 years. I joined in 2007, which is crazy to think how long it's been. I've been to thousands of meetings. I've done a fair bit of research. I don't know everything. I don't know everything either in an absolute sense, or I don't know everything in a non-absolute sense, right? I just don't know everything about Freemasonry, and there's always more that I can learn. Anybody who claims to know everything about any subject, I tend to be very hesitant to listen to them. Usually I find that they're scammers, or not scammers per se, but they've just been grossly misinformed. But that's kind of a warning I give to Masons and non-Masons. If you're communicating with somebody on social media about Freemasonry and they claim to quote unquote know everything, or they claim to know, if they use the term I know everything, I know it all, I know all I need to know about it, whatever it is, right? If they don't show an interest or believe that they can learn something new, you're probably entering somewhat of a dangerous zone. So I do want to bring that up because I do try to remind people of the importance of thinking about Freemasonry and always being humble enough to recognize you could learn new things. I mean, I'd love to come to India if it was cheaper to get there. It's a pretty expensive flight getting to India. What I know about India is very little. I'd love to learn more. I do know there's a lot of Freemasonry in India, though, to its credit. So one of the things I love is about India is the fact that it has such a significant Masonic presence, a lot of which comes back from UGLE. How'd you get to watch The Long Walk yesterday? I don't think it was out until today. I think you might have seen maybe it was a documentary. Oh, it was a documentary from 2021. The Long Walk movie is actually being released today in theaters. But the concentration camp, they absolutely had to walk for miles and miles and miles. Oftentimes, and not just them, but prisoners of war had the same thing happen to them as well. So, are you saying, Poonam, that you speak Hindi, or you speak Hindi as well as English, which is very impressive? Dad says nothing will stop extremism, so that is somewhat true. Right? I've said this before. We don't know if civic engagement will stop every act of violence, and I don't think it will. But it will, I believe, mitigate some acts of violence, right? We want to be careful, because if we start to think or say, well, every single, like this act could not have been stopped, so therefore no as could be stopped. It's about over time reducing violence, right? Not reducing every violent act or every extremist act, but rather reducing the violence within society piece by piece. That includes violence done to oneself, right? Yesterday was Suicide Prevention Day. I did not know it was Suicide Prevention Day. I learned it later after my stream. But yesterday was Suicide Prevention Day. By the way, if you are ever struggling with suicidal thoughts, you can call 988. However, the point is, suicide is violence and harm done to oneself, or self-inflicted. Again, if you have a stronger civic engagement where people feel welcomed, where people feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves, you are, I think, more likely to see less violence, whether it's directed internally or towards the self, or externally towards others. It was for many years. And that's where Freemasonry came from, or that's how Freemasonry made its way to India through the United Grand Lodge of England. Oftentimes on military bases, as well as merchants at the same time. Right, that's why a lot of the lodges there, I believe, are still chartered under UGLE. So I could be mistaken about that. But let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. Excuse me. And who wants to chat about Freemasonry? And then, like I said, about an hour in is when I start on the specific topics. In this case, this specific topic is relevance. Freemasonry and relevance, why it's important that we consider relevance within our Masonic, efforts. Are we doing things that are relevant to others? Are we doing things that are relevant to our communities and to our membership? And if they don't feel as though it's relevant, what can we do as much as possible to try to increase or grow that relevance? Right. India was a member of the British Empire it was actually Winston Churchill, a Freemason, who argued for India to remain a member of the British Empire. I believe India was under the British Empire until the 1940s. 1947 is when Britain was no longer... when India was no longer a subcontinent of British rule or the British Crown. So 1947, which I thought, which sounds about right to me. Well, we're actually, there's a lodge here in Essex County that's looking at doing something similar. Masonic lodges formed based on shared mutual interests, whether those mutual interests be motorcycle clubs or shared professions or shared hobbies, can sometimes do very, very well. Science fiction, there's a few science fiction lodges that exist within the world. There's also a few cooking lodges designed specifically for people who either are themselves chefs or enjoy fine dining. Omkar Kadam. I do not know what you mean by Simon Go Back, but I do hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe button. Inderjeet Singh, welcome back. Thank you for joining. I hope you'll hit the like button as well. Let me know how it's going and if you want to chat about Freemasonry. I'm going to start on my main topic soon, which is relevance. But for now, that'll be about another 40 minutes. For now, I just want to wait to see who joins and what you guys want to talk about. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry or anything you want to talk about, positive, negative, neutral, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer some of your questions. So today's topic will be relevance, why relevance is important, why we as Freemasons need to, I guess, approach Freemasonry or approach the growth of Freemasonry from a perspective of relevance and not a perspective of growing membership numbers, for example, which I think is a mistake that we are often making within Freemasonry. Right? I think instead of chasing members, we need to chase what it means to be relevant. But for now, I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I'm going to wait to see who else joins. If you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, please let me know. Positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. And as always, please take a moment, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to chat about. The first hour or so of these live streams, I really just chat about anything about Freemasonry. I don't have specific, I wait to see who wants to jump in and chat. So welcome back, Poonam Yadav. Thank you for being here. I mean, I suppose the better question I could ask as I'm getting ready for the relevance topic. Let me change this poll question. Although I still think it's valuable. Is Freemasonry relevant in your life? Hello, raised eyebrow. How's it going? It's been a while since, I think it's been a couple streams since I've seen you. So how's it going? How's New York treating you? I hope that you're doing well. Oh, I did not know that. Thank you, Amkar. That's really cool. Thank you for teaching me a little piece of history. I never heard that before. The famous slogan, Simon Go Back, and it was coined by Yusuf Merali in 1928 as a protest against the All-British Simon Commission, which was set up by the British government. Thank you for sharing that, Amkar. It's one of the things I love about these streams, the fact that I learn so much more about not just Freemasonry, but about the world. So thank you for sharing that. I truly appreciate it. So, Amkar, I believe you're from India, if I'm not mistaken, right? Are you going to go to it, Dad? I mean, potlucks are great. Will you be attending it? To me, it's one of those things that can't hurt to go, right? Like, why not take advantage of the potluck, learn about the York Rite? Good for them. Funny Republican is back. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. I mean, I love India too. Not that I've ever been there, but I love all my friends and brothers from India. I love Freemasonry in India. I also love Freemasonry in Canada, and I love Canada. It's my home. Yes, he did. I was actually streaming when it happened, and I remember it popped up on my CNN feed, and I mentioned it. We talked about it a little bit yesterday as it was happening. Did he ever show up in your feed out of curiosity? When you say that, I'm curious if you actually ever had any communication with him at all. I mean, I know that I don't think he was. I mean, he was obviously ubiquitous in terms of being online. Uh, but I don't know if he took part in any debates like live streaming. I think all of his debates were he'd go to colleges or whatever it is and just set up a table. And obviously, as time went on, they got bigger and bigger. And, but yeah, no, it's. I was never a fan of his. I think that's obvious, but my thoughts are with his family. I guess he has a wife and 2 kids, so. Where's that taking place? That'd be really cool to see. Um, the Friends Across the Border meeting. Is it in a town that's close to the either the Saskatchewan or Manitoba border? But that sounds awesome. Who's they? I'm not sure who they are. Well, it's afternoon right now. It's 1:56. I'd say political extremism is getting out of hand just across the spectrum. There's been some pretty good examples on both sides of it of extremism. So I'm not so sure I'd say especially or specifically on the left. So Freemasonry is not a group of the Illuminati, Inderjeet, though good question. Um, Freemasonry actually predates the Illuminati. The Illuminati were formed around 17. You can fact check me on this. I think I might be wrong, but 1717. Freemasonry was around 17. Sorry, Illuminati was formed in 1777, or thereabouts, if I recall correctly, whereas Freemasonry started in 1717, or before that, but with the Premier Grand Lodge of England. Illuminati was actually started as almost an anti-Masonic group by an Adam Weishaupt, and kind of petered out, kind of died out over the centuries. It doesn't really exist, at least in my knowledge, in 2025. Freemasonry existed before the Illuminati and continues to exist well after. Um, I mean, I'm not so sure about some of those stats. Mr. Keeps and Funny Republican. I mean, to my knowledge, for example, the well, we don't know the person who tried to assassinate Trump. I believe he was a Republican, who at least was a registered Republican. Um, it's a little bit more complicated than that, right? Certainly, the two Minnesota lawmakers who were, I guess they were killed actually, right? If I recall correctly. It was a very right wing individual who killed them both. Apparently, he had traveled to, he was, to my knowledge, he was preaching the gospel in Africa at the time and had some very interesting ideas. Let me just double check to make sure about that. Minnesota lawmakers killed shooter. Um, yeah, Vance Bolter, 57 of Green Isle. Um, I mean, Vance, from what I understand, Vance Bolter was a very right wing individual. And he killed two Minnesota lawmakers, both of whom were on the left. There was the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. So I'm not buy the idea that extremism or violence is a particularly left-wing phenomenon. Also, you could argue, right, to my knowledge, almost every mass shooter we've had in the last like 10 years have been white guys or white people, right? That doesn't mean it's a white issue. The point is, you can kind of play with these stats however you want, but I'd be very hesitant to argue that it's a left or right thing. Again, the most obvious example would be the Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses. Also, the person in the most recent shooting in Minnesota, the church or school shooting, I think it was. He spoke. Whatever he or the suspect was, certainly on his post, he expressed a lot of right-wing ideology. I'd say more right-wing ideology than left-wing ideology. I just think it's one of those things where it gets dangerous when we start to kind of have these ideas. I am not married. I have a cat in Brandon. Okay, Dad, that's very cool. The fact that it's halfway between. I don't know if you're going to that, but if you are, let me know how it goes. Again, not in when was it? Not in Minnesota in July, right? That was, when was it? That was Senator John Huffman, Yvette, Melissa Hortman. Well, I guess in fairness, Hoffman survived the assassination attempt. I don't buy that it's a particularly left-wing issue. I think what it is people have psychiatric issues combined with access to guns, combined with no one to talk to and no one to find support from, and no one to call them out and get them help if they need it. And that combined with rhetoric that grows increasingly extreme, pushes people to make decisions that are harmful not just to the person who was killed, obviously, or attempted to be killed, but also to the people to society as a whole, which is why I think we need things like Freemasonry. We need civic organizations and civic society in order to provide support and help for people who may be struggling with mental health issues, who may be struggling with feelings of loneliness, who may be struggling with feelings of being isolated that can lead them to want to take violent actions, to give them a system of support where they can find actual legitimate support, including the type of support that calls them out if they're going down a bad path, before they make worse and worse and worse decisions until it's too late. Right? I don't know if I don't think we even know who the shooter in the Charlie Kirk assassination was. I have no idea what, if anything, could have prevented this, but I'd like to think that if the shooter had a stable, healthy, supportive group of friends who were able to talk to him, or her for that matter, and able to catch him as he's falling. I'm using he, but we don't know again who the shooter was at this point, I don't believe. Maybe it could have been different, right? We don't know for sure. Well, that's fine, but I appreciate you being here anyways, but you don't have to respect me. I mean, being trans doesn't mean you're left wing, right? I think that's a very dangerous idea. I've known a few trans people who are actually right wing. One of the most famous examples is what's the name? Um, Blair White, right, is a conservative. Um, um, and a trans individual. So, um, I'm not, I wouldn't say trans is automatically left wing. The most famous example being Blair White. And also, a lot of the writings seem to me to be more pro right wing than anti right wing. Um, so, yeah, registered as a Republican voter. So again, I would be very hesitant. It's a very easy kind of narrative to grasp to say that if you're on the right wing, to say political violence is an issue of the left wing, or vice versa. However, I don't think the evidence points. I don't think the evidence supports that at all. And also, there's enough infighting on the right wing that you don't necessarily know that it wasn't a right wing shooter, right? I mean, if the issue was, for example, Charlie Kirk's support of Israel, which we don't know. We don't know who did it. We don't know why it was done. We don't know what the motives were. There's plenty of right wing people who are growing increasingly anti Israel. So you don't know, right? It's easy to pick whatever side you are on and blame the other side for the violence, but the rhetoric on both sides seems to be pretty bad. Although, if we don't find a way to communicate, then we're going to see this increase on both sides of the, just in general, right? We're going to see increasing levels of violence. Welcome. If you are just joining us, thank you for being here. Please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. I hope everybody's doing well. We are going to talk about relevance in another 23 minutes, but first, any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear it. Well, I'm not going to make an English only rule. Having said that, because I mean, especially if we ever get to a point where I've got a couple hundred people on the stream, and who knows, we'll get that one day. It'd be very hard to enforce English only. I need to get some extra moderators to be checking that out. However, I would prefer English to. Let me just see though. It can be one of those things where, yeah, the chat, the less English we have on the stream, I'd Poonam, Omkar, throw some English in there as well, so we can know what you're talking about. However, if I ever do get to a point where I've got a couple hundred people on the stream, or even more, fingers crossed, you're going to see a lot of different languages in that stream, a lot of different emojis as well. By the way, focus in Canada. I mean, I'd love to talk about Freemasonry in India. I should probably do a stream about that at some point. Right, it would be really fun to. I mean, I know a little bit about Freemasonry in India. The first Masonic lodge in India was out of UGLE, if I recall correctly, United Grand Lodge of England, from 1730 at Fort William, Calcutta. by officials of the East India Company under warrant from the Grand Lodge. Right, so we talk about both military bases as well as merchants and trading companies, right? Freemasonry, it was the East India Trading Company primarily, although it was also a significant number of military bases at the same time. Well, we have a fair number of Indian immigrants here in Canada. We have a fair number of all sorts of different immigrants. I do want to learn French. It's on my list. I keep wanting to learn it, but I never get around to it. I definitely want to learn how to speak French. I think that'd be very, very helpful. Not just helpful to me as a Freemason, because I want to be able to communicate with my French brethren, who are part of my Masonic Lodge, but also when we have two official languages, I think it makes sense to try to learn them both. However, I don't have a mind for languages is the problem. It's on my list, though, to learn French. Yeah, right now I'm just rambling about anything, waiting for, again, 20 minutes. I'm going to start talking about the main subject, which is going to be relevance within Freemasonry. However, I guess that's a good point. I didn't... Funny Republican, I guess I should have checked if you meant Indian languages as in, Hindi, people from India, or Indian as in First Nations or original peoples. If it's the, I don't know any of either languages. I have studied a little bit of First Nations languages, Ojibwe, I believe, here in Ontario, but I know very little. Again, I've said it before. I talked about it for a while on the stream. It makes sense to me that we as Freemasons try to be able to communicate in multiple languages, so we create a welcoming lodge environment for any Masons who may want to join, whether they're First Nations, whether they come from India, whether they're French, Spanish, whatever it might be. Well, people will come and go. The beautiful thing about it is my stream after all. But it is getting a bit much between these two. Well, they're not saying... Well, I speak two languages. I speak English and bad English, which is the joke from The Fifth Element. But honestly, there have people who say that learning another language actually helps you improve in your mother tongue or your native language. Because when I went to university, one thing I studied in undergrad was Latin. And it's funny, the more time I spent learning Latin, the better my English got. Because in Latin, you have to pay attention to things like, verb tense, rules of grammar, plural versus singular, all that type of stuff, which is really, it helped me become a better English writer because I had to think so much about tenses and conjugating verbs. You become better in your native language. I believe the same thing is true for most things that you learn. I've been to Montreal twice. Montreal was absolutely beautiful. I agree. I've never been to anywhere else in Quebec though, And believe me, I'd love to go because I think Quebec, I've heard Quebec is gorgeous. I've heard particularly Quebec City is absolutely a beautiful city. And actually, I will say I got to visit the Grand Lodge of Quebec in Montreal. Sadly, when I went there, it was closed, so I simply saw the exterior, but it was absolutely beautiful as a building. The architecture in there was incredible. So I wish I could get the chance to see more of it. Well, it's unfortunate, funny Republican. There's a lot of racism that just exists within the world in general. Uh, but whether it's towards Indian people or to anyone, I think I'm always going to be against it, I guess. Not that that is, although I suppose in 2025 it's a very brave stance to take. But yeah, I'm always going to be against racism towards anybody. So funny Republican, what is your favorite part of Quebec? When you say Quebec is beautiful, what would you say are some of the most beautiful parts of Quebec? We'll start on the main topic in about 15 minutes or so. Hello, Ryan. How's it going? Wotus, how's it going for you? I hope you're doing well. You mentioned above almost Friday. It is almost Friday, one day away, which is going to be great. English does have so many. I mean, English is incredible in terms of the number of different accents and dialects, especially in England, right? You can be in London, drive an hour north, and you end up hearing a completely different language, or not different language, but a completely different accent, I should say. And then an hour south, completely different accent. It's fascinating the different accents that we as the English have. I'm not sure to what extent you see that with other languages, but I'm sure it's true for every language. I'm sure there's multiple and many different types of accents that exist within any language. Certainly, I know French, right? The Quebec French accent is different from the accent you get in France. Oh, I heard that's a beautiful area, the Quebec Maine border. I've heard that's really, really beautiful. What was the closest town? Okay, I mean, Maine is a place that's on my list to visit 100%. I really want to get there because, Stephen King, for example, my favorite author. So I really want to make my way to Maine to check it out. Also, a lot of cool Masonic history in Maine. Anything on the East Coast has some really interesting Masonic history. So I sometimes, Funny Republican, occasionally go live on either Instagram or Twitch, though it's rare. I will be going live on Instagram on September 20th at September 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So that's my Instagram. And then Twitch, I go live every now and then, though it's very rare. I'm trying to focus all my efforts on YouTube at the moment. Having said that, you can always support me by Patreon, by sharing this stream, all that good jazz would be very, very helpful. It is. It's amazing how, like I said, how close you can be to two groups of people in England, for example, and yet how different the accent can be. I mean, and on those boats sailed many Freemasons, and as a consequence, Freemasonry kind of traveled throughout the world on the same boats, which is a cool little point as well, right? I've talked about this before, how Freemasonry is kind of Freemasonry and the Navy are. Hello, Poonam. Thank you so for being here. How Freemasonry is tied so heavily to the Navy and naval, uh, either the merchant Navy or otherwise, right? It's fascinating. Hello, Marco. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you want to talk about and how your day is going. My Instagram is, let me just put it in the chat so you can find it. Oh my gosh, Marco, I'm sorry. Well, I guess I'm not sorry. I'm happy that you got surgery because it means that you're going to be doing better. Right? Surgery sometimes is necessary. But still, I hope you have a quick recovery. Having surgery always sucks. So it's square underscore and underscore compass underscore promotions. If you go to Instagram and you type that in, Marco, or sorry, Funny Republican, square underscore and underscore compass underscore promotions, you should be able to find my Instagram. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I truly appreciate it. Follow me on all my socials. As always, I truly appreciate it. But thank you for being here. I hope you'll take a moment to hit a like and subscribe if you're new. We're going to start asking the question or talking about relevance in another, let's say, 5 minutes or so. What is relevance? Why we as Freemasons need to explore relevance or need to focus on relevance within our communities. And so, yes, September 20th at 3 p.m., I'll be live streaming from my Instagram account. If I get enough subscribers, I can live stream Instagram from my phone. Right now, I have to do it from my laptop. And I prefer my phone, so. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes. Going to wait to see who else joins. All right, we're going to give it a few more minutes. Let me know how it's going for everybody watching the stream. And as always, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Social media is part of Freemasonry, Inderjeet. I mean, the extent to which it is or is not part of Freemasonry is really dependent on each individual Freemason as well as each individual lodge. There are some Masonic lodges that are really focused on trying to grow their social media presence. To their credit, there are some lodges that are focused on, or ground lodges that are focused on growing their social media presence. Again, to their credit. So it really just depends on the lodge itself. There are some Freemasons who are kind of opposed to Freemasonry, or opposed to Freemasonry on social media, and worry that when we reveal too much of ourselves or spend too much time on social media, that there's more downsides than upsides in terms of things like discussions with trolls, or wasting time talking to trolls, things of that nature. So, but Freemasonry is trying to develop more of a social media presence, I would say. The Grand Lodge of Ontario, the Grand Lodge of Canada in the province of Ontario, for example, recently created a new More Than a Mason campaign, and is posting a lot of great stuff, a lot of which I've shared on my socials, where they say more than a pilot, a Freemason, right? More than a farmer, a Freemason. They talk about the extent to which Freemasonry impacts people's lives day to day, and how it does so. Interesting. Is Freemasonry relevant in your life? 8 votes, yes. 75%, no. 25%. 6-2. I'd have preferred that to be 100% yes, but honestly, 75% ain't bad. We're just going to give it a little bit more time. We're going to see who else joins. In 5 minutes, going to start talking about the main subject. Right, which is Freemasonry and relevance. One thing you'll often see me say is the purpose of Square Income's promotions is to explore the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. Let's give it, let's say, another couple minutes. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope also everybody's looking forward to what should be a great weekend. If you have any plans for the weekend, let me know. If you have any Masonic things happening for the weekend, please let me know. Or anything else that you guys want to chat about. Let's give it a couple more minutes. And as I said, I did also notice several statements from... thank you. Yes, they are. I like my blue eyes. I think they're awesome, but everybody's got, beautiful eyes, whatever the color may be. Aren't they more brown? But either way, I mean, I'm sure that it's great as well, right? Every eye color is beautiful in its own way. Oh, we got a 9th vote. Is Freemasonry relevant in your life? 78% to no. So it looks like we're at 7 yeses and 2 no's. Hello, Michael Moore. How's it going? By the way, I was going to ask you if you could send me maybe if there's any brethren who are going to be coming to your wedding, crossing over from Windsor, if I could steal a ride with them on your wedding day. I could meet them at the border, either at the tunnel or the bridge, wherever they wanted. Let me know if I can get in touch with them. I'm sure I know a lot of the Masons coming through, but maybe I could steal a ride, especially because we lost our tunnel bus, which does make me very sad because I love that tunnel bus. I understand why it happened. I'm not knocking it, but I do wish it came back, or I do hope it comes back. Well, Inderjeet, I mean, Freemasonry welcomes men, and there's a women's side as well, but Freemasonry welcomes men of all religious faiths. We have men who are Islamic as well as Christian. And when I say Christian, I mean Catholic and Protestant. However, there's also Masons who are Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, First Nations, or Aboriginal peoples, original peoples, Wiccan, Wiccan. So there is, Freemasonry is welcome. Freemasonry is not itself a religion. It doesn't interfere with the practice of anyone's religion for any purposes. What are you ignoring, Yadav? So I'm guessing, Michael, you said that Freemasonry is relevant in your life. I'm going to assume you're one of the yes votes. Let me know if you want why it is that you would consider Freemasonry to be relevant in your life. I'm going to talk in a second about what relevance is and why we as Freemasons need to think about relevance in our approach to life. Not approach to life, in our approach to Freemasonry, in our approach to our Masonic efforts. Why it is that we need to focus on relevance. Well, Poonam, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. All right, so I think we can get started on today's topic. Having said that, if at any given point anybody jumps in and has any questions, I will do my best to answer them. And I do appreciate everybody who has been here thus far. So when I talk about relevance, right, when I started Square and Compass Promotions and I started these live streams, well, it puts me in good company. I'm forced to be reminded of higher standards, and me and my brethren are everywhere I go. That last one will definitely make it relevant. So when I started Square and Compass Promotions, right, the purpose was I wanted to discuss, as a fly just went by me, I wanted to discuss the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, as well as I wanted to post topics and discussions that are relevant or of interest to Freemasons. Relevance itself, right, is defined as the quality or state of being closely connected and important. I'll use the Merriam-Webster dictionary because I think it's better. Relevance as a noun is defined as either relation to the matter at hand, so it's relevant to whatever is being discussed or considered at the moment, or its practical and especially social applicability. It is in some way applicable to the life you're leading, or to the situations in which you find yourself, right? Or the ability as of an information retrieval system to retrieve material that satisfies the needs of the user. So I think the most important definitions within that is the second and third. So relevance as meaning something that is practical and especially socially applicable. Something that is applicable to one's life, that matters to one's day-to-day life. Or the ability to retrieve material that satisfies the needs of the user. If we as Freemasons or the community in which Masonic Lodge is located has certain needs, then if Freemasonry can satisfy those needs, it is then relevant to the communities and relevant to the membership in which it's located. So why, and then I want to talk more specifically about some different types of relevance, and then I'm going to tie this into Freemasonry, right? And there's lots of different types of relevance when it comes to, for example, satisfying needs. There is economic relevance, right? Can Freemasonry satisfy the economic needs of either the individual membership or the community in which it's located? There is psychological relevance. Can Freemasonry satisfy the psychological needs of either the membership or the community, or can it be applicable to the psychological needs of the membership or the community? There is physiological or health relevance, right? Is the thing we're talking about satisfy the health needs of the membership or of the community? Or the practical and social ability. There's democratic relevance. Does the thing we're talking about satisfy the need of the community for some type of democratic necessity or democracy in the sense of an ordered community, right? So for example, I'll be right back in just 1 second. I'll show some example, again, before I go to Freemasonry, of what I mean. So, when you consider, for example, health relevance, I have medication here, right? My doctor prescribes this to me. This is relevant to me because it satisfies my need to be healthy. Right? I have no emotional attachment to it in terms of relevance. I have no, it doesn't make me feel better on an emotional level. It doesn't help me financially. However, this medication that I take, prescribed by my doctor, is still relevant to me because it fulfills or satisfies my need to be healthy. You compare that with, I'll give another example. This here, which is my father's and grandfather's past master's jewel, right? This has for me emotional relevance, right? Having it satisfies the need I have to feel good, to feel connected to my family, to feel connected to Freemasonry. My Patreon, which I'm going to mention in the chat, I'll leave the link. what it does is is concerning my financial relevance or economic relevance to me. It satisfies my need to try to earn money to keep my apartment, etc., right? So all of these things have different types of relevance within my life, within my community, within those around me, right? And so, for example, I think one of the things that we as, hello S. Torin, how's it going? Thank you for joining. One thing we as Freemasons need to understand, we need to ask ourselves the question, is to what extent is Freemasonry relevant to either our membership or the communities in which we are located? And when I say relevant, what I mean is to what extent is it fulfilling the needs of either the community or the membership? And if it's not fulfilling the needs of either the community or the membership, how can we try to instill that success? So we're talking about relevance as Turin, the idea of what it means to be relevant and how Freemasonry can try to focus on developing relevance within our communities, right? If we are not growing in Freemasonry, the reason we are not growing is because we are not relevant to either our membership or the community. One of the questions I always ask people when they, when you're trying to define is Freemasonry successful or what defines a successful Masonic lodge, the example I always ask or give is if your Masonic lodge or Masonic building disappeared tomorrow, would anybody within your community care, or would anybody within the lodge care? If the answer is no, they would not care, or no one would care, then your Masonic building or lodge is not relevant to the community or to the membership, and it's not likely to grow. So we're talking about relevance, and I'm talking about different types of relevance, right? If you consider relevance as the ability to fulfill some type of need within a community or within a membership, there are different types of needs, and each one demonstrates or reflects a different type of relevance. So for example, medication, it's relevant because it's relevant to my health. It fulfills the need I have to lead a healthier life and hopefully live a little bit longer. But it doesn't make, it's not emotionally relevant to me. It's not economically relevant to me, anything like that. The relevance comes from its ability to fulfill my need to live a healthy life. My Patreon is economically relevant to me. My past master's jewel, one of a few I have, but this one came from my father and grandfather, is relevant to me on an emotional level because of the way it makes me feel connected to my family and to the Masons around me, right? So if we are, one of the issues then we need to consider is to what extent are we as Freemasons ensuring that we are fulfilling the needs of either the community or the membership at large in order to be relevant to them and within their life. So for example, I'm going to start with the community. What are some things that a community requires or a community needs? Well, one thing a community needs is it needs to be economically stable. It needs to have economic stability within the community, right? Or the community itself needs to be economically stable. Businesses within the community need to be economically stable. What are some of the... Sometimes, Daniel Garcia, I wear cotton zip hoodies. I like hoodies in general. Hoodies are my favorite thing to wear. Please, by the way, hit the like and subscribe button. So how can we as Freemasons be economically relevant to our communities beyond what we already are? Well, first, when you have a new business that opens up, especially let's say if that business is a restaurant or food sources of any sort, try to invite the business to cater a Masonic event or a couple Masonic events, or hold some type of special event in which you focus on or celebrate that business's products. So, for example, in Border Cities Lodge, where I'm Worshipful Master, we have performed or held coffee tasting events where we got a local coffee shop to provide different types of coffee and voted on which coffee we liked the best. That gave the Freemasons there something interesting to do, a coffee tasting, but it also financially supported a local coffee shop. And now Freemasonry to that coffee shop is relevant because it fulfilled an economic need towards that coffee shop. Both economic in terms of we had to buy the coffee, but economic in the sense that it gave them free advertising to the membership, a result of which is it filtered or funneled more customers towards that coffee shop. And therefore it makes that coffee shop, or makes Freemasonry relevant to the owners and the people who work at that coffee shop. We also, in Border Cities Lodge, did an ice cream tasting. Exact same thing. It was a new business that just opened up. It was a small ice cream shop. We did an ice cream tasting. We got 4 flavors of ice cream from them. We had, little cups set up with little spoons, and we had the Masons try out the different ice cream flavors and vote on what their favorite one was. And what their favorite one was, we ended up doing a social media post about it, and we also purchased it for the next meeting. Again, we've now created a relationship between Freemasonry and that ice cream shop, but more importantly, we've created a level of relevance between ourselves and that ice cream shop because we're now economically relevant. Aside again from purchasing the ice cream, we advertise the ice cream, we potentially will funnel more people, more customers to that business. So that's another example of creating and demonstrating relevance within the community. During the COVID lockdowns, one of the things I was very proud that we did in another one of my lodges, Harmony Lodge, is we held a virtual beer, meat, and cheese tasting. You may be wondering, how does one do that? Well, what we did is, so at the time, there was a lockdown in effect. We as Masonic lodges could not meet in person. At the same time, goodbye, Inderjeet, thank you for joining. At the same time, businesses, they were open for takeout, but they could not have people sitting in the restaurants, which obviously, as a consequence of that, they were struggling financially with maintaining customers. So what we did in my Masonic Lodge is we went to a local business, it was a local brewery, and we had them create packages. Those packages contained 3 different samples of locally produced or meats and cheeses that went with each beer, as well as a few goodies like pins, stuff like that. If I recall correctly, the packages were like $25 each. Membership Masons could purchase the packages, and we either delivered them to the Masons, keeping all social distancing in mind, or they could pick them up at the shop. And then when we had the virtual beer and cheese tasting, we had a virtual meeting. Everybody came online. They came online with their packages, and we had the actual brewing company or the person who made the beer be part of the meeting. And he talked about, okay, this is beer sample 1. This is how it's made. This is what it tastes like. This is the cheese and meat you have with it. This is why we paired them together. And actually, that's a great example because the brewing company, it was chapter 2, that did that virtual beer and cheese tasting, has since catered and been part of many Masonic events subsequently at the Masonic Temple and outside the Masonic Temple. And so that's another example of creating relevance within the community, right? And every time we have in Freemasonry a banquet, a convention, a celebration that brings people to the community from around the province, from around the district, from around the world. Like, Dad, you mentioned Brandon, you mentioned having the Masonic celebration with the Brethren of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, right? I mean, if you have anybody coming into Brandon, staying in hotels, eating at the restaurants, supporting the local economy, you have now made Freemasonry very relevant to the people in that community, in that town, especially because Brandon is a smaller town. And the town is going to remember the economic relevance, the economic benefits of having Freemasons visiting that location. However, I think it's important that we as Freemasons not forget that it is also our responsibility to, as much as we possibly can, promote that relevance and remind people of that relevance, right? Remind people that we are in fact relevant to them. It's not enough to do events like this. It's also necessary for us to use social media, to use our, whatever it might be, email blasts, YouTube, whatever it is, to talk about the things we do, to talk about the way we are relevant in communities, the way we are relevant to the lives of the economic situation of our of the communities in which Freemasonry is located, right? I think that stuff is really, really valuable. And I think that's something we oftentimes don't do. We'll do something charitable, we'll do something good, but then we won't talk about it. And because we don't talk about it, people don't realize how relevant we are actually to the communities in which we're located. So I think relevance is incredibly important from a community perspective. But there's also from the individual Masonic or Mason's perspective, the extent to which relevance matters to the individual Mason, or the extent to which you could argue Freemasonry provides something that the member is craving, right? And then it's up to you to ask yourself, what is each Mason craving, and are we providing that relevance to them, right? Is a member joining because they have a need to feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves, that they belong to something more important than themselves? If that is the case, then I think you have to ask the question, are we as Freemasons ensuring that we are relevant in that sense, that they do feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves? Do they need a sense of development and accomplishment, right? If for Freemasonry to be relevant to them, they feel the need to be accomplishing things, again, is Freemasonry providing them with that need? Do they feel as though what they are accomplishing is relevant to their lives? Do they feel like getting a second degree, a third degree is relevant to their lives? Do they feel like taking part in Masonic meetings is accomplishing something? Do they feel that they're growing within the craft? What if they, feel the need for empowerment or creativity? That's a great example that Dad brings up, right? The Manitoba Masons cancer care volunteer drivers program. That's a great example of Freemasonry being relevant in one's life, right? Getting the ability to ensure that you're able to make it to your treatment on time, back and forth, that demonstrates an extreme level of relevance. Um, and that goes to the idea of it's relevant from a health perspective. It's helping you take care of your health. It's relevant from a social or emotional factor, in that it makes you feel connected, that people care about you. And it's relevant to your day-to-day life in terms of time management. You don't have to plan ahead for drivers, things of that nature. So that's a great example of relevance that Freemasons provide, as well as many of the charitable programs that Freemasons offer. Core Drive 4, ownership and possession. To what extent do members feel a sense of ownership? Again, if a member feels the need to have an ownership over his Masonic career, if he feels as though for this to be relevant to him, he needs to have some type of ownership of it and belonging in it, and has choices he can make within his Masonic career. If that's being taken away, will it still be relevant to him? Core Drive 5, social influence and relatedness. Again, relevance. If somebody is a Freemason and it makes no difference in their life on a day-to-day basis, except for once a month when they go to lodge, if that, then it's not relevant. If being a Freemason is something they think about every day, is something that other people think about every day, then it's relevant in his life. If he's regularly receiving correspondence from the lodge, if he's regularly learning about what's happening within Freemasonry, if he's regularly hearing from Masonic brethren, if he's regularly seeing examples of Freemasonry in the community, then it increases the relevance to him. So in that sense, what matters is the extent to which Freemasonry is relevant in his day-to-day life outside of Freemasonry. Outside of the lodge. How often does he think about it? How often does he hear about it? How often does he read about it? How often does he see it? If you cannot expect a Mason who shows up to lodge once or twice a month to continue or view it as relevant in his day-to-day life, and eventually that once or twice a month becomes once a month, becomes once every 2 months, becomes once every 6 months, becomes once every 5 years. Amit Boy, welcome. Hello to you. I hope you're doing well. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Right? Increased community events, the use of social media networks, promotional events are all ways to increase visibility, are all ways to increase relevance. The increased visibility will also help attract new members or new applicants who are considering becoming a member. Right? In the same way, how relevant is being a Freemason to your social circle outside of Freemasonry? Is it something people know about you? Is it something people care that you're a Freemason? Do you reflect well on Freemasonry outside of the craft? All that stuff is incredibly important. Right? Freemasonry oftentimes is relevant to people in ways they don't even recognize until they need it. For example, Freemasonry can be economically relevant to individuals, but they don't realize it until they need it. So, for example, Freemasonry often has benevolence funds. I've talked about it in the past. The extent to which I know many Freemasons who would be homeless, their families would be homeless, were it not for Freemasons stepping in to provide financial support when necessary through benevolence funds. That is an example of Freemasonry being incredibly relevant from a financial standpoint or from a financial idea. But that's a type of relevance a lot of Masons will not be thinking about, will not be considering until they need it. And what that can mean is they may leave the craft without knowing all of the potential benefits or relevance it could have for them in future. Which is why we as Freemasons should be spending a few moments in our lodges talking about different programs and services that we as Freemasons provide. Whether it be, did you know that we have benevolence? And if you need to learn, if you need to learn more about it, here's what it is, here's how you can acquire it, here's how it works, here's what it does. So our members understand, hey, there's a financial relevance that comes with being a Freemason that I might not need now, but I might need in future. And as a consequence, I should probably support the lodge. What about the health benefits of being a Freemason? In the same way, you may not think about it every day, especially when you're younger and just joining. I've talked about life expectancy, and in Texas, how, for example, the life expectancy is great if you're a Freemason. I've talked about the health benefits that have been shown as being part of a group that comes with being part of a civic or civil. Actually, I'm going to close my window. I'm hearing some things. I'll be back in just one moment. Got a lot of construction happening outside. That's better. Civic or a civil engagement, right? What that means in terms of people's mental health, physical health, the fact that being lonely is linked to as many negative health consequences, or actually more negative health consequences than drinking and smoking. How many Masons understand that? How many Masons know and understand the health benefits of being part of a group like Freemasonry? Know the benefits it provides, not only to them, but to everybody in that lodge. How many people know the relevance of Freemasonry as it relates to somebody's health and well-being? And is it worth us in Freemasonry talking about that? Taking the time to talk about the health and well-being benefits of civic and civil engagement. Again, just to give an example, health risks of loan. Right. This is from the AI overview, but I did read this report. This is from the Surgeon General in 2023, I think. Loneliness significantly increases the risk of serious health issues, including high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and a weakened immune system. It is also linked to mental health problems like anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, and an increased risk of dementia. Beyond physical and mental conditions, chronic loneliness can lead to poor health behaviors like lack of exercise and poor sleep, and has been associated with a higher risk of premature death. So, again, in that sense, what we see from Freemasonry is an example of relevance as it relates to health and well-being. But how many people know that? How many Masons understand that, right? That when they're showing up to lodge, they're actually doing something that is relevant for their mental and their physical health. How many people understand that when they show up to lodge, they are doing something that is relevant to the economic well-being of the communities in which they are located? When people show up to lodge, how aware are they that they are showing up to something that is relevant to their financial well-being, or could be relevant to their financial well-being if they find themselves in a situation of struggling financially? How many people know or understand when they show up to lodge that they are fulfilling, finding relevance as it relates to a need to belong, right? I think if you go to the hierarchy of needs, and again, the extent to which Freemasonry fulfills any one of these needs is an example of it being relevant. I gotta get this table fixed, right? When you have the hierarchy of needs, at the base level, you have physiological needs: air, water, food, shelter, clothing, sleep, reproduction. Freemasonry can help people fulfill those physiological needs and can be relevant to those physiological needs when it comes to, for example, providing financial support if they are at risk of losing their home, if they are at risk of not being able to pay for food, if they are at risk of not being able to pay for clothing, or if they find themselves in a situation where, let's say, their house, knock on wood, burns down. Freemasonry can be relevant to them in that they have brothers on whom they can call, places to stay, places to find support. Then you have your safety needs: personal security, health and well-being, stable environment, financial security, safety nets. Same thing. I've talked about how we in Freemasonry are relevant to fulfilling the safety needs of an individual by providing a secure and predictable environment, by providing a stable environment, by providing financial stability, by providing safety nets and in an emotional and psychological sense, helping people before they fall too far down. I think is something that Freemasonry is relevant towards. Then you have the next level: love and belonging. Family, friendship, community, romantic relationships, group membership, affection, and intimacy. I don't think I need to explain the way Freemasonry is relevant to fulfilling the needs of people looking for love and belonging. It's right in the explanation. Group membership, friendship, community, all of which is something that Freemasonry provides and helps people achieve that level of social connection and acceptance. The need of esteem, recognition, confidence, and respect. Again, Freemasonry is relevant to the need that people have for esteem by providing them with recognition and achievement. Every time somebody gets another degree, it's a form of recognition and achievement. Every time somebody gets a Masonic honor or gets grand honors, it's a form of recognition and achievement. Every time somebody gets a past master's jewel, it's a form of recognition and achievement. And again, Freemasonry is relevant because it helps people achieve that level of esteem, which is in itself a necessity. So I think what I'm trying to say here is not that Freemasonry is or isn't relevant. I think Freemasonry is relevant to communities and is relevant to the lives of the membership. I think our issue is because we are not, or when it's best, is when it's focusing on how it can meet the needs of the community, how it can meet the needs of the membership, how it can be relevant to the needs of the community, and how it can be relevant to the needs of the membership. I think we're falling down in Freemasonry in two areas. First, we are failing to adequately communicate the extent to which we are already relevant. We are failing to advertise the health benefits that come with being a Freemason and how those benefits are relevant to the individual members and the community at large. Because again, if we as Freemasons are helping people meet or are relevant to the health needs of the individual members, that means those members are less likely to need the hospital, less likely to rely on community supports, less likely to rely on government supports, less likely to end up homeless. And all of that stuff makes Freemasonry relevant not only to the individual who needs those health benefits, but it's relevant to the community at large because it's not something the community needs to then take on through the medical system. But we're not communicating how we help people or are relevant to people's health. We're not communicating sufficiently how we are relevant to we are not communicating how we're relevant to the financial security of an individual and why that's important. We are not communicating how we are relevant to helping people find esteem in their lives and a sense of accomplishment. And we're not communicating how that's relevant not only to the individual, but why that is relevant to the community in large, right? Again, every time a Freemason or a Masonic lodge helps somebody remain within their home through benevolence, that is less resources that now must be taken from the community to help that person. Every time we as Freemasons help somebody live a healthier life, either mentally or physically, that is less of a strain that will be placed on the healthcare system as a whole. And same thing with community, right? Every time, like for example, Dad, the event that you're having in Brandon, is, to what extent the Lodge is advertising not just that event to Masons, but what that means to the community as a whole, what that means to Brandon from an economic perspective, the restaurants that will receive new business, the hotels that get new business, the way you have a whole set of new customers coming in and propping up that economy. Are we as Freemasons adequately communicating that? Why towns and cities should consider Freemasonry to be a relevant part of their communities, and why they should want more Masonic activity. And then the extent to which Freemasons, provide charitable assistance or use or use local businesses for catering events, for special programs, bringing them increased financial support as well as advertising that brings in customers. Are we as Freemasons advertising those things as well? And so I think we as Freemasons need to keep those things in mind and first advertise the extent to which we are being relevant more. However, and when I say advertise, I mean advertise to our membership the relevance of Freemasonry in their lives that they're not seeing, and advertise to the community at large the relevance of Freemasonry within the community that they are maybe not realizing. However, I also think, unfortunately, that we as Freemasons are very often not doing an adequate job or good enough job of being relevant in our communities. We're not approaching local businesses as much as we should and seeing what type of partnerships we can develop and what type of economic support we can provide them, as well as what type of supports they can provide to Freemasonry. We're not thinking enough about the ways we can be relevant to, for example, the financial stability of members by not talking enough about our financial programs or benevolence. If we never mention we have benevolence in Lodge, a brother is not going to understand why the Lodge is financially relevant to him, right? If we are having meetings that do not, right, so it's relevant in both ways, right? But Brandon gets the economic relevance, and well as a recognition relevance, people know who never visited Brandon before. Is Freemasonry talking about that, as much as they should? Is Freemasonry advertising? Like, imagine if when the Freemasons were in Brandon, they all were posting about the town of Brandon, how wonderful Brandon is, how beautiful it is, this great restaurant in Brandon, what that would mean for the town, and how the town might start to view Freemasons as being relevant to them and caring more about Freemasonry in their town, which would then increase potential membership because now it's on top of people's mind. Like, take a restaurant. Hey, all these Masons came to this restaurant. They all purchased a bunch of food. They were all really nice. They tipped well. Now Freemasonry is relevant to that restaurant, and maybe some of the staff may consider joining, or maybe the owner may consider joining. Who knows, right? But it's about when you go there, advertising that you're Masons going there, so they know who's supporting the restaurant and who's relevant to the restaurant. And it's about talking about it even on social media and letting people know. And, one thing I was really proud of is during the last couple of years, I've really focused on trying to explore how and why Freemasonry is relevant to Windsor and to make Freemasonry more relevant to Windsor. And I'm still working on it. But I think if we don't do that, we are running the risk of people either not realizing we're relevant or just us not being relevant at all. Right? If, for example, when we as Freemasons maybe spend a couple minutes at the start of our meeting engaging in breathing exercise, meditation, light stretching, light yoga, are we doing things to increase the relevance of Freemasonry in the lives of the membership because we are helping to meet the health or physiological needs of the members? Right? When it's Christmas and we, let's say, deliver Christmas baskets to the membership, are we helping to fulfill the love and belonging needs or relevance to our membership by making them feel like they belong within the craft? And are we then talking about it? Are we letting our membership know, hey, here's what we're doing, here's why it's important, here's why it's relevant to you, right? It's not just about being relevant, it's about explaining why things are relevant. Again, if my doctor prescribes me this medication, but doesn't tell me why he's prescribing it, just says, take this, well, I suppose I'm going to trust my doctor and take the medication, but I'm probably not going to be that dedicated to doing it. I'm probably going to forget a lot. But if he explains to me why the medication is relevant, why it matters, what it's doing for me, then I'm more likely to take it regularly and take it as prescribed. In the same way, if I tell somebody Freemasonry is important, Freemasonry is relevant, then maybe they'll show up to lodge, maybe they won't. If I tell them Freemasonry is relevant to you, but don't explain to them how or why it's relevant, then maybe they'll show up, maybe they won't. But if I talk to them and tell them, here's why Freemasonry is relevant to you, here's the potential financial benefits you'll receive if you find yourself needing benevolence, here's the health benefits that we've demonstrated in the past, here's the opportunities for you to find a sense of belonging and community within Freemasonry, here's the things you can accomplish within Freemasonry, which is relevant to your need for esteem or recognition. If I'm explaining why Freemasonry is relevant, they're far more likely to show up regularly, right? We can't just rely, just like the doctor can't just say, I'm prescribing you this medication, but not tell me why it's relevant, right? He needs to both give me the prescription and describe why it's relevant. In the same way with Freemasonry, I can't just say Freemasonry is important, either when I'm discussing it to the community at large or when I'm discussing it to Freemasons. I need to say Freemasonry is important, Freemasonry is relevant, and here's why Freemasonry is relevant. Here's why it's relevant to your business as a potential source of customer, potential source of revenue, potential source of advertising. Here's why it's relevant to your community, the economic boost the community receives through the holding of Masonic events. And here's why it's relevant to the membership, because it's relevant to your physiological needs, to your safety needs, to your love and belonging needs, and to your esteem needs. Let me know if anything I said made sense. If it didn't, that's cool as well. I'll try to explain it again, but thank you everybody for joining. I truly appreciate it. And I think that's it for my discussion on on relevance, economic, physiological, psychological. Dad, did what I say make sense? If it didn't, please let me know and I'll try again. And now we're back at the just hanging out and chatting phase. So let's see who joins and see what they want to talk about. By the way, before you go though, did Did what I say make sense, Dad? Let me know if you got what I was talking about, if you thought it made sense, and if there's anything that you would add to that. We're going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who joins. Please take the like and subscribe, or please hit the like and subscribe button. Let's give it a bit of time and let's see who joins. We're going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who else joins. I hope everybody's doing well. Now we're back to this hangout part of the phase. So let's give it a bit of time and let's see who jumps on and who wants to chat. Welcome. If you're joining us, please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I was just asking the question, is Freemasonry relevant in your life? I was talking about Freemasonry, why it's important that we focus on relevance and what that means. So, like I said, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much for joining. And as always, Rondo, welcome. Thank you for being here. Directly, not necessarily. So that's interesting. What do you mean, if you could expand on that? Because I like what you're saying there. I think it's a very interesting kind of, I don't know if you heard what I was talking about up till now or how long you've been on the stream, but if you heard what I was talking about when I talked about the ways Freemasonry is relevant and how we as Freemasons need to both work to maintain our relevance and work to expand our relevance. But what do you mean by directly, not necessarily? And what would be some examples maybe of indirect relevance? I'd be curious to know that as well. Like, would this channel be an example of kind of indirect relevance of Freemasonry? I'll take that. And I mean, if I absolutely think that if this um, if you know this if this podcast can in any way, shape, or form help make Freemasonry more relevant to the community, then I think it's succeeded. At least I hope it's succeeded in some way, shape, or form. It has more people thinking about it. That would be something I'd take a lot of pride in. There was, as I was saying, okay, and that's a good point as well, right? We as Freemasons sometimes forget to talk about the relevance in a more general sense, whether it be Enlightenment era thinking as it related to kind of the formation of America, Canada in some ways, the countries in which we live. People sometimes don't realize how relevant Freemasonry was in some of these things that we as Freemasons, not Freemasons, but just people care about, whether it be our country, our cities, our communities, kind of Freemasonry as a relevant force in the world. It's not the exclusive force in the world. It's not even the most important force in the world. However, to say it's irrelevant, I don't think is the case either. But Rondo, so did you hear anything I was talking about before? I don't know if you have any thoughts on what I was saying about the need for relevance, both for Freemasons to be relevant and communicate that relevance. I wouldn't go that far, Rondo, though I appreciate it. I would not go quite that far. To the extent to which anything was the American substructure, I would say probably ancient Rome and Greece and classical philosophy played the most major role in how the American government is set up. But there's certainly Masonic ideals, specifically kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? The preeminence of democratic thinking, democracy as being the source of authority. I think that is something that you can draw a line, not exclusive to Freemasonry, but Freemasonry heavily influenced, certainly in progressive ideology, which at the time, loving a belief in democracy as being the preeminent way in which authority can and should be vested. That's both an Enlightenment ideal and a Masonic ideal. And I think that influenced a lot of thinkers of the time in different ways. Voltaire, Ben Franklin, George Washington, etc., etc. Let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. And we're just hanging out now. I hope my ideas on relevance were relevant to you. If they were, let me know. If they weren't, I can try to explain once again, or maybe explain better. Give it a bit more time. Just gonna wait to see who else joins. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button as well. Right now, I'm just hanging out. I was talking about Freemasonry and relevance, but now I'm just hanging out. I am going to potentially read some of the comments from some various Masonic lodges who mentioned this being the anniversary of 9/11. But for now, I'm going to give it a little bit of time. I'm just going to see who else joins. And anything you guys want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry, any thoughts you have, positive, negative, or neutral, please let me know. Alonzo, welcome. I hope you're doing well. I'm just hanging out, waiting to see who joins. I don't know if you heard any of this stuff on relevance, by the way, Mr. Keeps. If you have any thoughts on it, what I was saying, or the idea of the necessity of Freemasonry exploring relevance, or not exploring relevance, excuse me. the idea of Freemasonry, both chasing relevance and the necessity of it being relevant and communicating that relevance to both the communities in which it's located and the memberships. Charlie Kirk was not a Freemason, to the best of my knowledge. Again, I mean, I suppose anything's possible, but I've never seen any evidence or heard any proof that he is a Freemason. I don't believe he was. Well, I mean, unfortunately, there is a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I haven't seen any yet. I always try to check. I'm sure that there are some conspiracy theories that are linking Charlie Kirk's assassination to Freemasonry. Unfortunately, whenever there's a tragedy, that tends to happen. That Freemasons get linked in it somehow. I'm sure on both sides. I'm sure there's some people who are claiming that Charlie Kirk was a Freemason and that the assassination was some type of anti-Masonic plot. I'm sure there were others who are saying this was done by Freemasons somehow. But I mean, you got to be really careful with those conspiracy theories. To my knowledge, I've never seen any evidence that Charlie Kirk was a Freemason. I don't believe that he was. In terms of Mr. Keeps, I'm not sure why you didn't hit the like button. If you're saying that's because you don't agree with the relevance idea or anything else, but that's fine. You don't have to hit the like button. I mean, I'm going to keep asking people to hit the like button, but people can or there's no law that says you must hit the like button. Are they saying that on TikTok that he's a Freemason? I mean, like I said, I've never seen any evidence that he is, so. But unfortunately, conspiracy theories run wild. Though actually, I guess there's one comment here. Somebody asked him, what do you think of the Freemasons? And he responded, that looks like a TikTok article. Have just been like great everyday people. He says, but I'm open-minded to it. So they do say a lot of things about, they do say a lot of things about a lot of things on TikTok, not just Freemasonry, unfortunately. There's a lot of really good Masons on TikTok, though. Like Brother Fluff is maybe the most famous example. He was a great, he's a great Mason. He's actually the worshipful master of his lodge. He put that on social media. But he does a lot of really good stuff on TikTok under the name of Brother Fluff. So. We're going to need a bit more time. We're going to see who else joins. Please, if you are just joining, take a moment. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I hope you're doing well. I mean, I do appreciate that, Rondo. Thank you very. I mean, I like Brother Fluff. He's been on the podcast before, and he's a great guy. But that's very kind of you to say that you enjoy my content. I do appreciate that. So, thank you so much. Is there anything in particular that you enjoy about the content specifically, or maybe stuff you'd want to see more of when it comes to my content? Ideas you have that you'd like to see more of as well when it comes to my content? I always try to take advice from the Masonic, or sorry, I always try to take advice from my audience as much as I can. And by the way, we have a Patreon poll going on right now. If you haven't had the chance to yet, please vote on the poll. You pick the pop culture. I've had 4 votes on it at the moment. I need at least one more. Well, join my Patreon, Andre Smythe, and then I won't need to get a job. So how about you do that? That'd be very helpful. You can hit the like and subscribe button. That would help me out as well. Well, that makes me very happy, Rhonda, that you say that, because that has always been my goal, is trying to make Freemasonry relevant to both Masons, but also just the communities in general. So, no, I appreciate you saying that very much. Thank you. It is kind of the goal of this channel, basically, is to create or explore the relevance of Freemasonry, both to members and the community at large. But for now, we're about to just waiting to see who jumps in the chat to say hello, and if there's anything that you want to talk about. Just giving it a bit more time, seeing who joins. I don't even know where to be until tonight, so we can keep talking about the relevance of Freemasonry. As I said, there have been some different people who have linked or talked about, like Masons who talked about 9/11 and given statements on 9/11. I may try to read some of those if I could find them. Once again, for some reason, the tab I had them all on has gone missing, so I got to track it down. But Amit How's it going, Amit? I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know how it's going if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. But how is it going for you, Amit? How is your day going? I hope it's going well. Let me just try to finally find these statements if I can. If I can, I can't make any promises, Amit, but if I can help, I'll try my best. I mean, I don't know, Amit. If you tell me what's going on, I'll try my best. I can't make any promises. But I will do my best. I think it was this one. No. But let me know what you need. And like I said, I'll do my best to maybe provide some resources if I can. Again, I can't make any promises, but I can try my best. Yes, so the Grand Lodge of Ohio wrote, "Today we reflect on the events that took place over 20 years ago. We honor the brave men and women who lost and sacrificed their lives. Our hearts go out to all those who were affected by this tragedy we will never forget." That was from the Grand Lodge of Ohio. That was 7 hours ago. Sorry, Amit, I can't help you with that. Yeah, it looks like we do have a scammer, so sorry, Amit. Well, I don't know if he's a scammer or not, but I definitely cannot send you 20,000 rupees. Just going to Google quickly. So I found the statement in the Grand Lodge of Ohio. Grand Lodge statements. Sorry, no dice, Amit. Trying to find. Not driving me crazy. Of course, I lose the main statement I wanted to read about 9/11 or a Masonic Lodge that posted something about it. If I can track this down, I will find it. I am from Canada. I'm proud of it. I love Canada. Born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I figured that was the case. Here it is. Well, I mean, actually, I'll read this one. Statement by Prime Minister Mark Carney to mark 9/11, National Day of Mourning. On this day, 24 years ago, the world was forever changed after the deadliest ever terrorist attack on American soil. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in this brutal attack, including 24 Canadians. In the days that followed, Canadians stood with American neighbors, showing friendship to those who were in need and solidarity in a time of crisis. Nowhere was this more evident than in Gander, Newfoundland, and Labrador, where families opened their homes to thousands of stranded airline passengers, many of whom were American. In that moment, the people of Gander exemplified the compassion and generosity of Canadians. Today, as we mark the National Day of Service to honor those who stepped up to help in the aftermath of 9/11, we join Americans in remembrance and reflection, renewing the solemn vow to never forget. I really got to get this table oiled. Craftsman Online actually wrote something as well. The 20th, this was the 20th anniversary, but I think it's worth reading. This is from Craftsman Online, and I make sure I link to this on my socials, by the way. On Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, terrorists linked to Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 passenger planes. 2 were flown into the World Trade Center, 1 to the Pentagon, and a 4th crashed in a field in Pennsylvania after passengers tried to overpower the hijackers. Its target may have been the Capitol or the White House. The attacks resulted in the death of 2,997 and injuries to more than 6,000. This year, this is from about 4 years ago, we mark the 20th anniversary of the day we will never forget. Craftsman Online respectively thanks Most Worshipful Brother Carl J. Fitch, who's serving as the Deputy Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of New York at the time, for his reflection and remarks. We also pause to honor the memory of our brethren who laid down their working tools that day and stand with their widows, orphans, families, and loved ones in support. Let us also keep in our prayers the first responders, military members, and veterans who gave their lives that day and continue to suffer the grave aftermath and continue to protect us every day. Remembering 9/11, my brothers, I cannot believe that it is the 20th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 attacks on the Twin Towers in New York City, the Pentagon, and the crash in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I recall the words of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was a Mason, by the way, when Pearl Harbor was attacked, saying, "This is a day which will live in infamy." Today, we look back on September 11th, 2001, for us in New York, a day which we will and never should forget. I was Deputy Grand Master at the time of the attack. Most Worshipful Brother Carl J. Smith was Grand Master, and Most Worshipful Brother Gary A. Henningsen was Grand Secretary. We were in complete shock and disbelief that an attack such as this could ever happen in the United States of America. When the dust settled, we quickly sat down and got to work to see what Grand Lodge could do to help out and assist those in need. We received tremendous financial support from Grand Lodges throughout the United States and the world. All the money donated was given to various agencies that were assisting with the recovery and the agencies who had lost people. A couple of them were the fire and police department for their widows, Grand Lodge received well over $3 million in this effort. We received plaques from the police and fire departments for the Grand Lodge's donations to assist their efforts. Grand Lodge was also affected by people who related to Masons who had died in this attack. The Grand Master, I, and the Grand Secretary hosted a luncheon for those affected and gave out checks to the families attending. Those unable to attend, we mailed. On a personal note, my daughter's husband, Lee Failing, a fireman with Battalion 557 stationed in Bedford, Stuyvesant, was killed in the attack. My daughter Danielle was 8 months pregnant at the time, and it was a rough time for me and my family. Her daughter Megan was born on October 18, 2001, and is now 20 years old and in college in Boston. The cleanup and recovery efforts lasted a long time. As a side note to the cleanup, which not many Masons know about, was the Grand Lodge had to rescue the famous St. John's Bible. At the time of the attack, the Bible was on display at the Francis Tavern in Lower Manhattan near the Twin Towers. An exhibit called Masons in the Revolution was about to open, and after the attack, Francis Tavern was covered in debris and a thick white powder. There were indications of further building collapses about to occur, and Grand Lodge wanted to remove the Bible to a safer place at our library on 23rd Street. A call was placed to the police department where we know some people, and when asked why, they were told and were awed and delighted to be part of the rescue mission. When I was sworn in as Grand Master in May of 2002, Grand Lodge continued its efforts in donating and giving of time to assist in any way we could, and this lasted well into the end of the year and 2003. On this 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, we should always keep this day on our minds as a constant reminder that dire day in the history of our nation, and to remind us that we could be living in a land of turmoil where terror attacks seem to never cease. Our armed forces protect freedoms we all cherish, and I thank the Grand Architect of the Universe for the blessing of democracy. Stay safe, and may God bless your families. Sincerely and fraternally, most worshipful brother Carl J. Fitchie, past Grand Master 2002 to 2004. I'm just going to share that in the stream. Or sorry, I'm going to share that in my YouTube and in my social media channels, including X. So let's give it a bit of time now. Let's see who joins. As always, anything you guys want to chat about, we're back to this general discussions and general conversations. Welcome, Leonardo. I thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope, if you're not done so yet, I hope you hit the like button. So when you say Freemasonry is your passion, does that mean Freemasonry is something that is relevant to you and relevant in your life? See, I don't know where Bedford Stuyvesant is or what it is, but I do like Notorious B.I.G. Okay. Tolerant and aware, change the way I see things. Good. Well, then, so that's a very good point that you bring up as well, Leonardo, because what you're showing there and demonstrating there is that Freemasonry is not simply relevant to you, but it's relevant to your family. It's relevant to your wife, right? The fact that your wife sees the way Freemasonry has benefited you, has made you more tolerant, made you more aware. And as a consequence of that, you are able to, it becomes relevant to her. So again, the other thing I talked about this, I don't know, Leonardo, how much of this stream you've seen so far, but I was talking about relevance in two, kind of both the importance of relevance and the importance of communicating relevance. So for example, if my doctor prescribes me medication, right, but doesn't tell me why the medication is relevant, why it's necessary, I'm less likely to take it or less likely to take it regularly. If your wife sees you becoming kind of more tolerant and more aware, but you don't communicate to her that it's Freemasonry that's doing it or demonstrate that it's Freemasonry that's doing it, then Freemasonry will not be relevant to her. So it's about the relevance, both the fact that it is relevant and the fact that the relevance is communicated or demonstrated. Both are equally important. That's a lyric from his song Unbelievable. Okay, I will check it out. And then maybe I'll know how to pronounce that word properly. Or that, I guess it's a district in New York or a town in New York? I'm assuming it's a district of New York City. Bedford Stuyvesant, the livest one. So Stuyvesant or Stuyvesant. I wish I would spend more time in New York. I went there once and I found it very crowded and just giant. Like in terms of number of people, just so many people, which I found somewhat challenging. Because it's like you couldn't catch a break anywhere. Even at 2 in the morning, I was at this place and it was packed. There was people everywhere all the time. But maybe I'll have to get back there at some point. Maybe I'll enjoy it more during my second visit. I've heard it said with the long A, so it's either Stuyvesant or Stuyvesant. By the way, all of these things I read and talked about, I've posted on my social media, especially my X account. Blue Sky is going to end up there as well. So please make sure to check all of my social media accounts out also. What we need to do is get raised eyebrow on here, because raised eyebrow would know how to pronounce it properly. Got to get some real New Yorkers on here. That's my horrible and terrible New York accent, for the record. Good. So that's another example of Freemasonry as being relevant and why it's so important that Freemasonry be relevant to both. Freemasonry cannot just be the type of thing that it's relevant to you once or twice a month, if at all, and then for the rest of the time you're spending, it's not relevant, right? That can't be the way it works. For Freemasonry to be relevant, it needs to be relevant every day, every moment of your life, in as many different parts of your life and aspects of your life as it can be, is my opinion, right? And I think one of the biggest dangers we have is if we start to think of Freemasonry as being exclusively relevant on Lodge days and not outside of Lodge, we're doing a disservice to Freemasonry and to our Masonic experience as well. Interesting enough, though, when it comes to this question, is Freemasonry relevant in your life? Yes, 63%, no, 37%. And of course, very sad to see, what is trending right now? Civil war. So that's concerning on X. Good. That's wonderful to hear, Leonardo. I'm glad that you consider yourself that. I'm glad that Freemasonry means so much to you. That's a huge, I mean, that to me is one of the things I love most about Freemasonry, is the fact that it allows me to meet brethren from around the world. That's a really special feeling, to meet brethren from all around the world, right? It's something I really love. I'm not surprised, Rondo. It sucks. Once something like this, once something like the Charlie Kirk things happen, then the threats happen, and then etc., etc. So it's yeah, to anybody who may be getting threats, obviously first and foremost report them to the police, keep a record of them, and do whatever you can to be safe, because that's the most important thing. But it doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me that those threats might be happening, and I hope that everybody is safe. I think we're all kind of in that feeling right now of hold on to your butts. I think we all kind of have that feeling right now. I think we're all kind of nervous for various reasons. When I talk about Freemasonry, why I care about it, one of the things I say is because I think when it comes to ratcheting tensions, when it comes to why I think Freemasonry is so important, because I think civic engagement, not exclusive to Freemasonry, but civic engagement is a necessary antidote to help calm rising tensions, calm threats. It helps us see each other as community members first and foremost, as opposed to kind of the other, right? Because Freemasonry, I need to sit with people who have different political beliefs than me, who have different religious beliefs than me, who have different backgrounds, ethnicities. They might be born in Canada, they might be immigrants, whatever it is. And I need to find a way to get along with them and work together with all of our working tools so we can build something greater than ourselves. But if we don't have that, if we're completely tribal when it comes to our politics, it makes it much harder to accomplish anything or build anything, to use the Masonic metaphor. That's the hope. I don't know if I'm succeeding or not. What scares me is that I might be failing, to be honest. But when you see the news, it sometimes feels like what you're kind of building on a foundation of sand, which is quite scary. However, I think all we can do is try our best, right? That's all that we can do. And whether we succeed or not in our efforts, if we keep trying, maybe we'll get luckier than we think. I don't think it helps anybody to not try, because what else can you do, right? We're going to get a bit of time. We're just going to see who else joins. They're just hanging out. I've talked about my main topic for today, or topics. The primarily, it was Freemasonry and relevance. Why we as Freemasons both need to focus on how it can be relevant to our communities and our membership, and we need to communicate that relevance. Also, a little bit about some of these statements we're seeing on today's 24th anniversary of 9/11, specifically Masonic statements therein, and some of the work that was done after 9/11 by the Grand Lodge of New York on the same. So, whether supporting widows or whether supporting first responders or those whose lives were lost in 9/11, the efforts that were made by Masons really from all around the world, sending in donations to New York, and then New York Grand Lodge giving that money and giving those funds to those who were in need. We're just going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who else joins. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, please let me know. But for now, we're just going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who joins. I'll probably end this stream relatively soon. But I guess I'd still give people a chance to jump in and say hello. if I got any more quotes happening right now. Or any more votes, I should say. I may also, just for fun, try to do a stream today on Twitch. I've already done one of a Twitch stream before, so I think it might be kind of fun to. I've done. Let me rephrase. I've done them before, but not often, and so I might try one of those again today. But I will be back on at 1 a.m. also. So let's give it a bit more time. ALAA, Allah. My name is Cameron. I hope you're doing well. This is Square and Compass Promotions. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Welcome. If everybody's just joining us, please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. I hope everybody's doing well. Just hanging out here, chatting about Freemasonry. I'm done with my main discussion, which was Freemasonry and relevance. So now we're talking about, now we're just hanging out, basically just taking questions. Carl is back. Welcome back, Carl. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. I don't know if you've been on the stream at all. We were watching. If you have any thoughts on what I said about relevance in Freemasonry, more, or specifically the idea of both Freemasons as needing to focus on being relevant and focus on communicating the ways in which we're relevant to both the community and the world, to both the community and our membership at large, let me know. If you are brand new to the stream or just joining us now, then how's your day going? I hope it's going well. I hope you're looking forward to the weekend. Where's that Hieronymus from? That sounds familiar to me. That sounds like something that came from the West Wing. Or just make it up. But that sounds vaguely like in the West Wing they had this character. He was the British ambassador to America, and he always introduced himself as, you know, having 13 different titles when he would be introduced for the first time. Lord John Malbury, that was his name, Lord John Malbury. I don't know if anybody else, I was a big fan of the West Wing when it was first on TV. I haven't watched it for a little bit, but I definitely wish politics was more like the West Wing than whatever it is nowadays, that's for sure. you practice Freemasonry every day, just like breathing, that's good. That definitely would be an indication that Freemasonry is relevant to you if you're practicing it every day. I think that goes back to the idea I've talked about before of everything is Kung Fu. Excuse me, everything is Kung Fu, as in everything is Freemasonry, right? The expression comes from, so everything is Kung Fu, comes from the most recent Karate Kid movie, Karate Kid Legends, where basically the whole point was they're saying, look, if you wanted to train for martial arts, whether it's Kung Fu or boxing or whatever it is, then everything you do should in some way, shape, or form be applicable to your training into the martial art. And you see that in the original Karate Kid, right? Where famously, when he's learning learning karate, at first he's not learning quote unquote karate. He's learning how to, wax on, wax off a car and all these different chores. He's learning how to do those things because everything is karate. The way he does those little things will help him become better at the martial arts he wants to eventually learn. And Freemasonry is the same way. When I say Freemasonry, is everything or everything is Freemasonry, what that means is everything I do in some way, shape, or form, I hope helps me to become a better Freemason. Whether it's taking first aid courses so I can help those who may find themselves struggling with some type of medical emergency, and certainly help my lodge brothers, whether, if they are struggling in lodge, whether it's exercising and trying to keep myself physically fit so that I am healthy enough that I can contribute to the Masonic Lodge and I know that I'm going to be able to give my all to Freemasonry because I'm taking care of myself physically, whether it's reading whether it's going to watch The Long Walk, the movie The Long Walk, looking at the ideas or ideals within that movie and seeing how I can apply them to Freemasonry. All of that stuff is incredibly valuable because I'm always thinking, how can I take this as an idea and apply it to Freemasonry, right? So everything is Freemasonry, just like everything is Kung Fu. Thank you, Carl. Carl, I hope that you're doing well, though. Thank you for being here. And that's something, I mean, I've never been I'm not going to pretend I'm some huge Karate Kid fan, because I'm not. However, I did, because I'm just not an action kind of, I don't know if those would count as action movies, but whatever, I never got into those movies. However, I love the idea, I'm a firm believer in the idea that everything is connected or everything can be connected. If we have an open mind, if we don't have a closed off mind, right, it should be possible for us to see the connections in the various things that we do. There's no reason why, there's no reason why the Long Walk cannot be connected to our Masonic journey. There's no reason why having your first aid cannot be connected to your Masonic journey. There's no reason why exercising and maintaining your health and well-being cannot be connected to Freemasonry. Connections exist, the connections matter, and we should pay more attention to them. We should pay more attention to not necessarily trying to create them, but trying to recognize them, which is another example of relevance. The more connections Freemasonry has to the other aspects of our life, the more relevant Freemasonry is to the aspects of our life. I mean, you could argue in the same way, it's true of religion, for example. I know one thing that I'm not religious myself, but a lot of my religious friends have tried to argue is, to be truly religious, it cannot just be a matter of attending church and, you attend church a couple hours a day, and then for the rest of the time, your religion is kind of irrelevant to your life. This idea of you need to have a relationship with your religious and your religious understandings, all throughout the week, not just on Sunday for a couple hours. That seems to me to be one of the arguments that I've heard from those of my friends who are religious, which is it's not a single time, it's not 2 hours a week. It's relevant to them because it's a relationship with their Savior, whomever it may be, whether it's Jesus Christ or whether it's the Muslim faith or whatever it is. It's a relationship that is relevant to them 7 days a week. And I think Freemasonry needs to be relevant to ourselves all the time. I think if you're in martial arts, the martial arts needs to be relevant to you all the time. It all is relevant. It all matters. I would say hell is other people very often, but I appreciate that as a quote as well, Carl. You're not wrong. It's a very good quote. Is it yours or does it come from somewhere? That's a very good quote. It's not wrong. Well, we're all various levels of famous, I suppose. Famous, infamous, it's fine. It's all the same thing. It's okay. It's okay. No, any fame is good fame, right? Whether it's fame or infamy. But I would take being infamous over famous. It's at least you're known. That's something. You got to take what you can get. You got to take what you can get in this world. I don't think that's quite what it means. I think it means famous, but for negative reasons. However, we'll take it, like I said. And there's many times in its history where Freemasonry has been infamous. So I guess, unfortunately, sometimes you're the famous one, sometimes you're the infamous one. By the way, don't forget, I will be back on at 1 a.m. this morning, so I hope you guys will check me out there as well. By the way, FBI, according to CNN, releases images of person of interest in Kirk's fatal shooting. I guess he's not a suspect officially yet. They're just calling him a person of interest. I don't know, honestly, actually, what the difference is between, let's say, a suspect and a person of interest, or if there is any difference for that matter. I assume there is. But I know that there was, immediately, relatively shortly after the shot was fired, I saw pictures of a man arrested. A lot of people were saying he was the killer, but he was released and was not. So we want to be very careful that we use these terms correctly. The last thing we want is to be encouraging vigilantism against someone who is actually a person of interest and not anything more at this point. Yeah, Rondo's talking about it. Potential threats trigger lockdowns at several HBCUs across the South. Maybe I don't know enough about, like, I don't know anything in terms of was he set up to take the fall to let the other guy escape. I don't think anybody knows, right? We want to be really careful because I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody knows what the motive was. I don't think anybody knows if the person of interest is an actual is an actual suspect, or if he saw something. I don't think we know what the older gentleman, what was going on with him, if he was set up to take the fall. I mean, even this picture, right? If you look at the picture on CNN of the person of interest, he's wearing a shirt. It looks like it's a shirt that disabled veterans wear. We got Mr. Keeps who pops in and out sometimes as well. So was the person of interest a veteran? Like, again, is he disabled? What type of disability is it? Could it be a shirt he got from somebody else? 12 minutes ago, U.S. Marshals have joined the search for Charlie Kirk shooter. The U.S. Marshals Service, the agency tasked with locating and arresting fugitives, has now joined the search for the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, one law enforcement source told CNN. Personal items seen left behind at the school. I don't think nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what the motive was. I don't think anybody can know. And it's careful if we start. There's this old expression by Sherlock Holmes, right? You never create theories before you have the facts, because otherwise you will you will twist the facts to suit your theories instead of twisting your theories to suit the facts. So we have no idea what the motive was. I mean, I'm sure the person who is the quote unquote person of interest is shaking in his boots. I mean, whether I was guilty or innocent, if I was named as a person of interest in such a high profile situation, I'd be quite scared as well. Whomever did it, I'm sure, I mean, I have no idea how they feel, but I'm sure that they are, I don't even know how they would feel about it. If they're a psychopath, then they might not feel anything about it. He didn't actually, Mr. Keeps. That is, from what I'm reading, that's actually not true. That was misinformation / a lie / misinformation promoted by people before they knew that. Yeah, it's just a rumor that spread. I'm nearly positive that that's the case. But let me double check. Were trans slogans written on the bullets in chart? Well, I mean, have you read the report, or is that just what people are telling you online? You need to be careful. So, because I'm reading the Independent, so I'm reading different things. It might be true. So the Economic Times is saying yes. The Wall Street Journal said yes. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so then it must be the case. I'm trying to see. The images show a person wearing sunglasses, baseball cap. Yeah. Trying to ask Grok. Let's see what Grok is saying. Or was it the... Right. Hello, Grok. Not that you should use AI all the time, for the record. You want to be very careful relying on AI. If Mr. Keeps read it in the ATF report, then I'm willing to go with what Mr. Keeps read. Did the bullet casings found at the Charlie Kirk Nation site have pro-trans comments? If I could spell correctly. Yes, so this is from Grok, for whatever it's worth. Yes, according to multiple reports from law enforcement sources, the ammunition recovered from the rifle believed to be used in the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University was engraved with messages expressing pro-transgender and anti-fascist ideologies. These engravings were found on the spent cartridge casing left in the chamber and on 3 unfired rounds in the magazine of a .30-06 hunting rifle. Okay, so it looks like it was the case. Although I don't know what the actual words were. So there you go. That might be a pretty good sign of motive. Although, in fairness, the person could also just be crazy, right? And have whatever, lash onto whatever ideology. Or might, who knows, might be something else, but they wanted to blame the trans community for it. I don't know. Until we get the guy, I'm not comfortable speculating too much on motive. Well, I think there is definitely an element of, unfortunately, one of the things we see in society is people feeling as though what matters is how, they, like, people feel as though just this crazy desire for attention, this crazy desire for validation. Like, there's this clip going around of some dude on TikTok who was at Charlie Kirk's talk, and after the assassination attempt, he went on TikTok with his phone and was going like, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, I'm here on TikTok, I'm at the assassination attempt. It's one of those things where it's like, somebody's just been shot, potentially. I don't think they knew at that time, but somebody's just been shot, potentially could be killed, if not found out was killed, and you're, in the midst of it, in the midst of the actual shooting, going on TikTok, telling people to like and subscribe to your podcast. So there's definitely an element of again, what's the word I'm looking for? Definitely an element of validation seeking by a lot of people on social media. A lot of people, I think, are posting both positive things about Charlie Kirk and negative things about Charlie Kirk, more out of a desire for validation, I suspect, than actual belief. That's not to say everybody. I know Charlie Kirk had a lot of friends in the social media sphere who um, are posting things than genuinely. But I think a lot of people are jumping on both sides of the bandwagon right now for validation. I think there are a lot of people who are on the, jumping on the celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, not because they actually are celebrating it, but rather because they know it'll get them attention and get them people commenting on it and get them, whether it's just like you said above, Carl, whether it's positive, whether it's fame or infamy, they just want the attention. I want to be validated for that attention. And I do think there are some people on the other side who are posting a lot of positive things about Charlie Kirk, who I suspect are doing so because they want the attention from the right wing and don't actually have any particularly fond feelings from one way or the other. But it looks like no, Mr. Keeps was correct. I guess again, according to Grok, always be wary of of AI and what AI says. Yeah, I guess there was some trans messaging. I don't know what the nature of the messaging was or what the words were, but some trans messaging on the bullet casings that were found in the rifle. Because I think it was first reported, because what was it? Who said it? Matt Walsh, I think, was one who reported it at some point. He said, I mean, I'm not willing to go with that either, right? The idea that this was government. I've heard some conspiracy theorists say that this was the government, this was inside operation. Like, I've heard a million different conspiracy theories from a million different things. I call a lot of it baloney. I tend to believe the simplest answer is the correct one. So in this case, the simplest answer is it was a mentally disturbed individual who acted on his own. Well, I mean, he can be LGBTQ and crazy, right? I don't think the two are not mutually exclusive. I don't think the two are necessarily combined. Or this, the right to whatever your motives are, whether it's right wing or left wing, to kill somebody, I think you have to be mentally disturbed. Whether his motivation was trans or whether his motivation was anything else, right? You can be a crazy person and LGBTQ, right? You can be a crazy person and be not LGBTQ. See, 7 hours ago, Matt Walsh tweeted, important reporting here from Stephen. If this is more trans terrorism, we must bring down ruthless vengeance down on these savages, but more confirmation is needed. So that's what Matt Walsh said 7 hours ago, and Matt Walsh hasn't said anything since about the potential trans connection. So I'm still honestly hesitant to say whether this is accurate or not. I mean, it could be, but just the fact that because I feel like of all the people, if this was actually trans related, Matt Walsh would be posting about it nonstop. I haven't seen what he posted via videos, but I'm somewhat questioning it. But you can be both crazy and LGBTQ. You can be crazy and straight. I'm crazy and I'm straight, so take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I'm hesitant to, even because I'm not sure if the ATF would be releasing its reports right away. I don't know. I don't know. But you're right, this isn't left or right. I'd be very hesitant about putting this in left or right terms. Well, I definitely don't believe that to be the case, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. I've known one trans person well. Um, I guess I've known two trans people well, and I know another trans person in passing, not well. They did not seem to me to be possessed by a demon. One of them, I would not have known that they were trans if they did not tell me. Um, you would the average you wouldn't be able to know unless. So I knew them after they had transitioned. The other one I knew before, and then I knew as they transitioned. Seemed like regular folks to me. Um, I try to square the circle every day. Right? But we don't even know if the person who, hello BCW, hope it's going well. Thank you for being here. Right? We don't even know if the person who it has, welcome back, who like is the person of interest or the suspect, or pick your term, is trans themselves, right? Well, I do allow free speech. I mean, keep in mind this is right as a general rule. I mean, there are some things I won't tolerate, obviously, people insulting or things of that nature. But I mean, if you believe that about trans people, that's fine. You're wrong, but I'm not going to kick you off the. I'm not going to kick you off of the stream for that. Put it that way. You're welcome to stick around, but I mean, I have no issue with trans people one way or the other. It seems to me it'd be kind of cruel to have a negative view of trans people when the trans people I've known have been nothing but kind and regular folks to me. I kind of feel this way back in 2004, 5, and 6. Well, yeah, and up through like 2012, there seemed to be a lot of anti-Muslim kind of sentiments in Canada, in the United States. I think in some ways like a hangover from 9/11. And it always seemed to me kind of a cruel thing for me to believe when all of the Muslim and Islamic people I knew were incredibly kind to me and good citizens. So it's one of those things where it's like, why would I believe the rhetoric when I can just believe my own firsthand personal experiences of how I am treated, right? Well, Carl, you are robots, so fair enough. It's good to have robots on the stream. I support my robot overlords and look forward to them taking over the planet. I talked about that on the stream. A few different statements. One from the Grand Lodge in New York, which actually, as they said, they said, over $3 million in donations from various Grand Lodges around the world after 9/11, all of which went to support widows and orphans and those affected by 9/11. Um, we are everywhere, but it's not the way you think, and it's not the way conspiracy theorists think. Um, and statements from the Grand Lodge of Ohio, from some other important, prominent people about 9/11. And before that, I talked about um, relevance within our communities. I should be a Mandalorian. That would be cooler. Even though I don't know much about Freemasonry, I don't know much about Star Wars. Mandalorian sounds cool. There is actually a really cool pin out there. Um, it's two lightsabers that make up the compasses, and then the square is just a regular square, right? So it's kind of a cool image. Yes, well, I think I show you guys the pin, or sorry, the coin of, I'll be right back, Carl. I'll show it to you so you can see it. It's my uncle's, well, so your cousin's birthday? Happy birthday. Okay, this is not Star Wars, but Star Trek. Now, in fairness, we have, so yeah, so I don't have the Star Wars pin, but I have the Star Trek coin. And there is a lodge out there that is focused on science fiction. It's a really cool lodge, actually. It's like a sci-fi lodge. Everybody there loves science fiction. They do Doctor Who nights and Star Trek and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, I think, once upon a time. So that stuff is kind of cool. I was born this way. So nothing happened. This is just how I was born. Which, you know, I feel I don't mind being born without legs. Having lost my legs in an accident would be, I think, a lot more challenging. Tough to relearn everything. Being born this way, like I said, because nothing happened, I learned how to adapt from a very young age. You don't have to be sorry, BCW. Like I said, I feel lucky that I was. I mean, I'm lucky's not the right term. I feel. What's the word I'm looking for? I like who I am. I like who I am. Even with not even, but I like who I am, no legs and all. So I don't mind the fact that I was born with no legs. Again, had I lost my legs in an accident, I might feel a little bit different. But yeah, you know, I learned how to adapt from a young age, and it's always been good. No, no. Well, I mean, I am sitting, but I'm sitting because I'm in the wheelchair. So I guess I'm not just sitting, is the term, right? I'm sitting out of necessity, but nonetheless, I don't, you know, I'm very lazy. So honestly, it's probably not that I was born without legs. It's probably that I just chose not to grow them in the womb because I'm a very lazy person, and the less work I do, the better. I should get Bluetooth connected artificial legs. When I was growing up, I had artificial legs, but sadly, they were not Bluetooth connected. So it was very sad. I wish I should have got them Bluetooth connected. It would have been way better. I hope everybody is doing well. Please take a moment if you're just joining us. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for being here. I hope everybody's doing well. No, that's true. I mean, I'm sure because I had artificial limbs in the 1980s through the early 90s. So what, 30, 40 years ago? I can only imagine how much has changed in the last 20, 40 years, I should say, and how much better technology has gotten since that time. Right now, hatred is trending in Canada. the compared to now, sure. Artificial limbs, they go back to, I suppose in theory, they go back to the pirate ships and when you had like peg leg. However, there was artificial limbs made of wood that World War One veterans had. But certainly, so the 1910s, 1920s, but certainly compared to what exists now, I have no doubt that the 1980s and 90s would be the late 80s, early 90s would be the early days of prosthetics. Oh, it's definitely well evolved from the peg leg. There's no question about that. The peg leg was, I would say, I'm very happy that I never had to have a peg leg, put it that way. They have those. Well, they have not spoon hands, but they have type of artificial arms that have different attachments you can add. So they have some that are like a hand, but it's kind of in this shape. So it lets you go swimming or lets you catch. It's for sports. They have some that you can attach a baseball glove directly to. Some that you can attach utensils to. No, I've seen a lot. Artificial arms are pretty fancy pants nowadays too. Fancy sleeve, I guess you'd say, for artificial arms. Okay, let's give it another, let's say, couple minutes. We're just going to see who else joins. Please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to vote in my poll on YouTube, on Patreon, patreon.com/Square and Compass. I have a poll going. You can help me determine what I'm going to watch for my next movie, for our movie live stream, which is going to be September 14th at 7 p.m. I mean, you don't have to like. There's no rule that says you have to like. I say it often because, again, people can sometimes jump in for a couple hours to the whole stream to a couple minutes. Um, so I try to say it so if somebody's just jumping in for a moment, they're reminded to hit the like and subscribe button. But no one has to like and subscribe. It's not even civil disobedience because there's no rule that says you have to. I have never seen Grandma's Boy before, but I will watch it. I'll see what it is. I mean, the four choices, in case anybody's curious, and right now it's 4 votes, and each one is at 25%. So at this point, I'm going to be the tiebreaker if we don't do something about this. I love concession stands. We've got, let's see. Freemasonry and the Knights Templar, Secret Societies, Space Masons and the Alien Conspiracy, 33 and Beyond, the Royal Art of Freemasonry. So. I love Clerks. Clerks is one of my. I like the View Askew movie. I like the View Askew movies. I can talk. I like. I need some water. I like the View Askew movies quite a bit. I enjoyed Clerks. Really like Mallrats. I thought Mallrats was actually one of a very underrated, underappreciated film. Kind of found a second life on DVD. I remember owning the Mallrats DVD and really liking it. It was a great DVD. Like when I say great DVD, I mean all the special features were cool. The loading screen was really cool. Um, the way the loading screen loaded different things was really cool. They had a lot of hidden Easter eggs on the loading screens. It was just a great DVD. I like DVDs a lot, actually. I love physical media. I've talked before about on my other channels about why I love physical media. There's something you get out of physical media you don't get otherwise. I think we need to see a return to it a little bit. Anyways, I like Mallrats a lot. I really like Chasing Amy. Enjoyed Dogma. Enjoyed Clerks 2. That's a very sentimental movie for me, Clerks 2. Clerks 3, I liked it, though I think it was my least favorite of the Clerks films. But yeah, no, I like the View Askew movies a lot. I think they're really good. I see. I'm not a huge comedy fan as a general rule. I did enjoy Tommy Boy, but it's not. Again, for me, when I'm going to see movies, as everybody knows, it's scary movies first, Hallmark Christmas movies second. It's rare that I go to comedy as my go-to. I just got a City TV app, so I'm watching. I'm catching up on Alien Earth, which I'm enjoying, and they just released on Prime Clown in a Cornfield, so I'm gonna be watching that for sure because that's a movie I want to see in theaters. Talk about a great year for scary movies. It's been absolutely awesome. Well, so Prime is the app, and then Prime has different channels, and one of them is City TV Plus. I do. I've said before my favorite streaming service is Tubi because it's free and it has the best horror. And then my favorite paid subscription service is actually Disney Plus. But Prime is pretty great. They've got a lot of good stuff on there. I saw Conehead. Actually, no, I don't think I did see Conehead, to be honest. I've seen clips of it. I think I saw some of the uh, skits on SNL, but I've not seen the whole movie. I remember seeing the clip of the alien Conehead diving and the her like perfect dive. I've got the great courses on Prime. I don't really watch a lot of it though. I need to watch more of that instead of defaulting to the same scary movie I've seen 100 times, or Alien Earth for that matter. Not that Alien Earth isn't great though. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, who was awesome in great comedic actor, Ghostbusters, one of my probably a top 20, top 30 movie. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's not a favorite, but it's a really good movie. Is Ghostbusters. Interestingly enough, I was talking about Freemasonry relevance, and we had 21 votes. Is Freemasonry relevant in your life? Yes, 62%. No, 38%. I mean, it makes me happy to see that yes is at 62%. I think hopefully maybe in future, if Score and Compass Promotions is successful, we'll get that yes closer to 100%. Well, I take advantage of the free trials, which are wonderful. Usually every year, the free trials reset, and then I get a week of channels where I get a free trial. So I need to watch quickly, though, because I have 1 week before I lose it. So that's the trick, right? That's the trick. Take advantage of those free trials when they pop up. Or you get sometimes where it's like a channel for 99 cents or something. But I mean, I stopped short at I'm not subscribed to Netflix, and I feel like that's the one that everybody has. I remember when Netflix first came out, how huge it was. I never got Netflix. I shouldn't say that. I had it for a little bit, but relatively speaking, it's my least favorite streaming service. I think it has the kind of it has usually the least good selection of scary movies. So, again, Tubi, it's free and it's got some of the best stuff. As does Pluto TV. I'm really digging Pluto TV, which is free as well. And um, Global TV app has The Good Witch, all 7 seasons. And I'm a big softie and I love The Good Witch. So I appreciate Global TV app for that. Alien versus Predator Requiem, I really enjoyed that. It was a good combination of kind of sci-fi and horror, which is what the best aliens are, at least in my opinion. Hey, Global's great. Exclusively for me, it's great because it's got the again, it's got the Good Witch or Good Witch all 7 seasons, and I love that show. And also, it has Bake with Anna Olsen, which I really enjoy. Now, here's my biggest complaint: why can't we get a streaming service with Crossing Jordan anywhere? I love Crossing Jordan. That was one of my top 10 favorite TV shows. Can't find it anywhere. You get Charmed on Paramount, but I have all the DVDs for it anyways. You get Buffy and you get Angel um, on Disney Plus. You get X-Files on Disney Plus. Yet you can't get Crossing Jordan anywhere. And I say not cool. I don't watch the Gilmore Girls. No, I dropped the line at that. But I like Good Witch because it's I like TV shows or movies that have that kind of fall witchcraft vibe to it. Like Practical Magic is one of my favorite movies, and Charmed, one of my favorite TV shows. So obviously, Good Witch is a little bit more daytime soap, adult oriented, whereas Charmed was primetime teen. But nonetheless, they're both great. And they both feel like kind of October in a blanket. So for Halloween this year, I'm definitely going to be doing a Good Witch a Good Witch marathon. Interestingly enough, Good Witch, much of it was actually filmed at the Scottish Rite Masonic Cathedral in Hamilton. I've been to that cathedral on several occasions, and the building itself is a stand-in for Middleton City Hall. So I love seeing Freemasonry in movies. I love seeing Freemasonry in TV shows. I love seeing our Masonic buildings in the same. And the Good Witch features Scottish Rite Cathedral. So I thought that was awesome. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do a marathon of the Good Witch, and every time that location pops up, I will post it or something. See, it's funny, Mr. Keeps. You would think I would love the craft, and I did enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it quite a bit, but it was never. I always enjoyed Practical Magic, and I always enjoyed Charmed more. I appreciate the craft because the success of the craft led us to have Charmed, the TV show. I did like that one line on the bus when the bus driver says, "Watch out for weirdos," and the craft girl says, right, "Mister, we are the weirdos." That's a great line. Kind of reminds me of Freemasons. We are the weirdos. Or at least I am the weirdo. What can I say? What can I say? That sounds really familiar, but I don't think I ever saw that movie. I mean, I think, was it just called Warlock? Like I said, it sounds to me familiar, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's funny. Well, let's look that up quickly. I'm curious now. Speaking of so Warlock movie 1989 film. Speaking of movies, today is the release date of Sorority Row, which was released in 2009. Sorority Row is a great slasher. It's one of my favorite slashers and is in desperate need of a sequel. Well, listen to your mom, Carl. Listen to your mom. Do what your mom says. Yes, I've got it here. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 56%, which doesn't really mean anything because Rotten Tomatoes, there's a ton of movies I love that Rotten Tomatoes poops on. And then it looks like there was like a series of sequels to it. There was Warlock 1989. Julian Sands was in some movies I really enjoy, but I can't think of them right now. I think then it looks like there was a sequel, Warlock 1993, which is an American supernatural film. Nice. Hey, if you love it, and I mean, there was something so fun about going to the video store and renting your favorite movie. So that is awesome, right? I mean, I did that with the Nightmares. I did that with the Nightmares all the time. I loved going to the video store and renting my favorite scary movie or renting my favorite WWE movie. Honestly, I love scary movies, and I haven't gotten around to the Phantasm series either. So that's one of my blind spots in my horror love, if you will, is the Phantasm series. So let's see, Julian Sands. Where do I know him from? Because I know I've seen him in some movies. I just can't place them now. It's bugging me. I'm looking up his thing. Cube, I really liked the first Cube. I really enjoyed the second Cube. Not a big fan of the third one, relatively speaking. But I did really, really enjoy the first Cube quite a bit. I thought it was great. Really cool concept. Never saw the Poughkeepsie tapes, but I've heard of them. And I've heard people have the similar reaction. I'm one of those people, as a general rule, I don't find myself getting squeamish when I'm watching I don't like the I don't like gruesome movies, but it doesn't affect me physically. I just find it gets there's only so much you can do, right? There's only so much, like, that's the problem with, for example, like I Spit on Your Grave type of films. Like, it's fine to build up tension, I guess, but at a certain point, what more can you do? It just becomes repetitive. And I'm not interested in watching people suffer just to watch them suffer, That's not something I enjoy. Yeah, I've read the book and I've seen the movie. I enjoyed them both very much. I would say I probably, if I had to pick, I probably enjoyed the book more than the movie, but they were both really good. Is Fandango free? I'll look into it. Actually, here's what I will say. I should talk about this. Give me one sec, because this is something that I've talked about a lot in the past, and I should bring it up again. I am a big believer in supporting public libraries. I've got my library card here. And one thing about libraries is not only is it one of the last places you can still rent physical DVDs, also a lot of libraries have streaming services that from which you can rent movies or audiobooks or even Kindle books. You can rent them right from your phone. You don't need to go into the library to rent them. The Windsor Public Library has Hoopla, Hoopla, and Canopy, K-A-N-O-P-I. I've got them both. Again, if you are from Windsor and you have your public library card, you can take advantage of it. It's streaming service, it's free, so you don't have to pay for it, and it's got a lot of really great stuff on there. So get your public library card, support your public library, support Windsor Public Library, and take advantage of Hoopla and Canopy. And honestly, a lot of public libraries have this option where you can use your card to sign up for certain streaming services. I know that Glenview Public Library, and I've talked a million times about how much I love Glenview, Illinois, one of my favorite places in the world. Maybe my favorite place in the world. They have a really great library, and I know that their public library has the same thing, where if you're a member, you can access a streaming service through their library. And again, you can rent, basically you download a movie and you have it rented for 3 or 4 days through that streaming service. And I've heard of Fandango. I think it's free, so I will look into getting it for sure. And if anybody watching this ever comes across or sees Crossing Jordan, please let me know. X, it has been a while. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well, X. Welcome back. You're a local Spurs fan. You did promise you'd be here, so thank you for coming back. We're just talking about, because I was talking about Freemasonry and relevance, talked about 9/11 anniversary and Masonic statements. Now I'm just hanging out, chatting about things we enjoy, video, audio, streaming. So thank you for being here, BCW. Thank you for being here, X. I love local libraries, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. You still have freedom of speech to say what you want, but don't knock public libraries. They're great. I love them. They're my one of my favorite places. Well, we're kind of 3 hours and 48 minutes in the stream, so I can go through my discussion on relevance again. I guess the very brief answer, X, or the very brief explanation is, if Freemasonry will survive, and if it has any chance of growing, it needs to both be relevant to the communities in which it's located and the membership, and it needs to communicate that relevance to the communities in which it's located and the membership, right? The best example I think I gave is this medication was prescribed to me by my doctor. If my doctor just said, take this medicine, well, I assume the medicine is relevant to my health. But if the doctor doesn't describe why it's relevant to my health, I'm less likely to take it or less likely to take it regularly. It's not enough to be relevant. The relevance needs to be explained and understood and examined. And that's true for everything, right? I'd imagine that's true. And sometimes, even if you're playing sports, why is the sport relevant to you? When the coach is making you perform certain drills or certain exercises, I assume one of the things the coach is going to do is tell you why those exercises are relevant. Whether it's just generally to make you healthier, whether it's to teach you discipline, whether it's to develop a specific skill that's necessary in your endeavor, in your sport, all that stuff matters. Well, I see I got Mr. Keeps to like. So there you go. I was successful. Took a little bit of effort, but I made it. Who knows tomorrow? We'll see what happens. Well, I appreciate you being here, BCW, even for a couple moments. That was very kind of you. I don't think you're lazy, BCW. I think you're. I mean, I don't know you, but I appreciate you being here. Well, no, I appreciate you being here very much. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm just waiting to see if, oh, battery power is low. I could charge my phone, but I'll probably end this stream soon. Not that it's not been an absolute blast, and thank you to everybody who's joined. It feels like a marathon stream, but no, my marathon stream is going to be on September 21st at 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to go through to my birthday, September 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. So you should come to it for my birthday. By the way, every couple hours during that stream, I'm going to be giving away some Patreon subs or memberships. 1 month free for Patreon members. We'll be doing draws. Anybody who is on the stream will get the chance to take part. There's no purchase necessary. You just join, and it'd be great to have you. It'll be 1 month free, and after that, you can either stick around and pay for it, or you can cancel the membership at that time. But September 21st, 2 p.m. to September 22nd at 2 p.m. And it's for my birthday, so if no other reason, come celebrate it. Maybe I'll buy myself a birthday cake. Who knows? Even though I'm not a fan of cake, what I'll get myself is a birthday pie. That's what I'm going to get, because I love pie. By the way, Romeo, Michigan, best peach pie I ever had. It was during their Peach Fest, so I guess it makes sense that I would love it. Because if you're gonna have the Peach Fest, you better have really good peach pie. But it was crazy good. It was absolutely delicious. Hey man, I even the troll I appreciate it, because if you're trolling me, it means you like me. So I'll not complain too much. But that will be September, and who knows? Maybe you'll win one of those free um, month memberships to the Patreon. It's the tier 1, which means if you do get it, you'll receive correspondence from me. Some special correspondence with a special package. So, or it's with the commemorative packaging as well. All right, guys, thank you so much. We're going to be ending this stream. I will be back tonight at 1 a.m., then tomorrow 1 p.m. So thank you guys so much. I will see everybody soon. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. All right, guys, see you soon. Oops.